Hello, I'm Ian,
And I'm Darren.
and welcome to the Average Bikers in a Cave, a show where a group of bikers chat and share opinions about all things motorbike, from news, reviews, interviews, and the big questions. If you like what you hear, then be sure to subscribe, tell your friends, and leave us a review.
On today's show, along with our usual ramblings, we will update you on some news from the biking world. We have a little special on the man, the legend, the retiree, Valentino Rossi. And also we will tackle this week's big question. Advanced riding? Yes? No? Definitely? Maybe. This week's episode is sponsored by Afterground, an exceptional drone, wedding, portraiture and events photography and videography company that specialises in capturing video and images on the ground and in the air in a style that is modern yet timeless, interesting and vibrant, with a focus on exhilarating moments and pure fun. Using their experience, skills and knowledge, they will work with you to ensure your videos and photos are exactly the way you want them. For more information or to chat to the team, head over to www.afterground.com or check out their Facebook page. Check-in time. Da 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 da. I think this is going to be busy this week.
It's been relatively busy. And I will start with what happened to me a couple of weeks ago, shall I? I'll wait till I tell you what happened to me. I think it was literally on the way back from recording the last podcast, possibly.
Oh, the day after. It was pretty close.
Riding along, bobbing along, dee-dee-dee, and I got hit by an owl. Yes, that's correct. A big blooming barn owl came flying at me, bounced off the car in front. And then all I saw was it almost looked like the kind of German eagle thing that you see up in war movies. Just a big pair of wings and a big face coming right at my helmet. Where misses. And I got hit by an owl. Luckily, stayed on the bike. Literally bounced off my helmet and my shoulder. I went flat back. Checked the mirror. The bowl. I'll tell you, my bowl certainly did something. The owl bounced along the road a wee bit and then flew away. So no owls appear to be relatively badly harmed in the making of this podcast. You'll be just in case PETA's listening,
or bikers for that matter. The fact that you managed to
stay on the bike
was quite impressive.
I think that wee bit of extra jet propulsion coming out my backside as I was going to the one side.
Hence the Freudian slip.
Hit me, plop me back up again. So be careful out there, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, when you're on your motorcycles, because owls do fly into you on a bike.
So there was two things that got me about that. The very first thing was like, oh my God, hope that helmet's all right, because it's a really, the Batman helmet's really nice. And secondly, I thought it's a high-class caliber of predator you have where you live.
Absolutely, yes.
Everyone else has pigeons and seagulls. You've got full-blown Hedwig.
Yeah, so when I messaged Darren, when I messaged you about that, didn't I? I said I've just been hit by an owl, and you meant, of course, you're in Kilmacombe. You've got a far higher quality of predator to crash into your motor vehicle.
Everyone else gets idiot pigeons.
That's it, pigeons and...
No.
Pigeons and moths. And I've got an owl. That's a barn owl. It was lovely. I'm pretty sure it was as shocked to see me as I was to see it, to be honest.
Flood.
Poof. So that was it, number one. Number two, in my check-in, I think, which is pretty cool, after recovering from the owl incident, was down in London last weekend. Was it last weekend?
Last weekend.
And popped into the bicycle shed, bicycle shed company.
The bicycle
shed moto company, motorcycle club. That's it. They don't make it easy, to be fair, right?
The bike shed company in Shoreditch.
Shoreditch. Yeah. Anyway, super cool place. Absolutely amazing. Loved it from the minute I kind of drove by it the night before, so I mean, we're going there. Amazing place to go to. If you just love being around anything to do with bikes, right? It doesn't matter whether you're a sports biker or a hog or whatever. It just oozes that kind of love of bikes. The decor, the people that work there, all the posters and it's absolutely amazing. And we put a couple of pictures up on the Facebook page. So if you haven't checked out the Facebook page yet this week, then have a wee look. If you're down in London, it's amazing, and it has motorcycle parking for people, so you can actually ride your bike right into the thing, and they've got a big, massive, right into an owl. They can just ride the bike right into this huge, big kind of archway. It's like setting arches, a bit like the arches in Glasgow, and they've got a big garage area where you can park your bike. What's really cool about it is if you're sitting having your lunch or your breakfast or your brunch or I'm so hungover I need fat food. That was me. Then
Oh, was it?
Oh, absolutely. That's another story. Nothing to do with bikes, but it does involve at least 8-9 glasses of wine, plus champagne, plus digestives, plus a Vesper martini later on.
Oh,
Yeah.
they're dangerous.
Yes. So you hear the bikes coming in and out, and obviously there's a lot of hogs getting in and out, so the noise is just tremendous, and you're just sitting in this atmosphere, and the merchandise is really cool. I may have spent 1 or 2 pennies in the shop.
Yes.
Yep. But they also sell gear, proper gear, like all the Belstaff long way up stuff was all in there. Knox armour stuff and all. So they've got a really nice selection of proper biking stuff. It's not just
riding gear.
trendy touristy stuff, but
I know. I think our I would say friend of the show, not yet, but hopefully after next weekend. But I know Mr. Borman does spend a fair bit of time in there, and they do a whole load of other stuff in there. I mean, I think they run a custom show, or a custom competition. I think every year.
Yeah. They've got the posters of that up on the wall every year that they've had it, and all the the big names, Triumph and all these kind of people, Dainese, all these people sponsor it. You know what I mean?
Aye.
Also, I never went into it, but there's a really cool Dainese shop just down the road from it.
Oh, is there?
And just down from Shoreditch, and it just looks amazing. I didn't get a chance to go into it, but I'll be popping back there when I pop down to visit John. So, because that's where he's moved to. So, so really, really cool place. Absolutely cool place. We took loads of pictures of the bikes, custom Ducatis and Triumphs and all these kind of things. Really,
I know. You kept saying that. It was like ding,
yeah.
Ding.
You did say
ding,
keep the pictures
ding.
coming.
Aye.
30, 40 pictures later.
I was being polite.
I knew you were.
Every time
I was being a pain.
Aye. I was like Motley. Aye. I can't believe he's went down there.
So really cool. So if you're down in London, it's super biker friendly, and it's not as in kind of I'm a biker. It's just super chilled, relaxed. It's really, really cool. All walks of life in there, just enjoying stuff, and the food was amazing as well.
That's what I was going to ask. How was the
Food
grub?
was brilliant. Yeah, absolutely amazing. Big super bike shed, full breakfast.
Oh yeah.
With pork belly bacon. It wasn't even just normal bacon, it was big
Pork
slabs of pork belly.
Oh,
Homer.
nice.
So if you like a good breakfast, then I recommend that one. Absolutely.
It's worth, I think, just going down just for that.
Totally.
Just going to London just to go there.
Absolutely. And as I say, if you're down in your bike, just ride it in and have a wee park up there. So very, very cool. Very cool place. Yep.
Very hip.
So if you're listening, Bike Shed Motor Company, then thank you very much for your hospitality, and Average Bikers in the Cave are happy to receive any free stuff. Go boom for this plug.
I know, we should get in contact and just say, can we come and record an episode in your shed?
Absolutely. And do you know what? I think they'd be totally up for that.
I think they'd be totally up for it.
I was telling them about it, and dropped off a card to the guys as well, because I did wear my Average Bikers in the Cave t-shirt.
Did you?
Yes, I did.
Yes.
I've got pictures of it with it on, but I do kind of have my arms crossed over it, because the first thing I did was have my breakfast and spilt tomato sauce on my white t-shirt. So,
Ethan.
I know.
I need to get you an Average Bikers in the Cave bib.
Exactly. Yeah. So if we do pop some pictures up, then everywhere my arms folded, so over the stain.
Unbelievable.
You should have seen Susan's face when that
I
happened.
can imagine.
She just looked at me as if to go, "Oh yes, here we go."
Can't take you anywhere.
Exactly.
Shocking.
What about yourself, sir?
I passed my advanced rider's test.
Have you not got a wee cheery button?
I have a cheery button somewhere. Forgot I had a cheery button.
Cool.
It was nerve-wracking. Even though the guy that took me out was absolutely tremendous, and he was trying his damnedest to put me at ease and kind of walking through it and stuff like that. But it's one of those ones you've spent all those months riding, and you get to that point and you go, I just want to pass.
More nervous than your bike test?
more nervous than my Mod 2 bike test, yes.
Yeah.
My Mod 2 bike test, I didn't feel any nerves at all. Mod 1 was terrible. You know what I mean? My brake light on my Mod 1 must have been like a disco. You know what I mean? Because my leg was up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down. You know what I mean? My leg was away at its own little rave. You know what I mean? And it was transferring its way through to the back brake, which was, you know what I mean? I'm lucky I didn't give the examiner photosensitive epilepsy by the time he'd done my 10-minute Mod 1. So, yeah. But, again, we're going to talk about that a bit more later. In terms of what else, I want to talk about New Rock, because New Rock have got a couple of new lids out, which I was super excited to see.
Yes, so was I. Absolutely. I got really quite moist thinking about them.
And by all accounts, there's a couple of guys out there, a couple of YouTubers out there that have the Rock helmet, and they're so light. They are a bit noisy, but you're always going to get that with a light helmet anyway.
Yeah,
we know that, we both use the Rafa 11 for HGC, which is a super light helmet, but it can be a bit noisy.
Yeah.
But they were bringing out the Joker and the Batman helmet, which obviously our regular listeners will appreciate. Ian's, how can we describe it?
Mild interest.
Addiction.
Mild interest in all things comic booky and geeky, and especially DC and especially Batman. That mild interest.
Aye. And the Joker helmet I thought was just outlandishly garish and amazing.
Yeah, it was everything you'd want
totally
a helmet about the Joker to be.
If the Joker was wearing an actual helmet, I mean, that would be the helmet, because it's phenomenal. It reminds me a lot of the kind of Venom helmet. The first Venom helmet was just it was amazing. But the Batman helmet was a letdown. I
was gutted. Actually, I was super disappointed. Now, and this is not that it wasn't a beautiful helmet. It is a stunning looking helmet, and there's a Ruroc helmet that looks very similar to it, black and graphite greys and things. But
the Atlas 3, I think.
Yeah, the Atlas 3, and they do it in a black and kind of yellowy, kind of some kind of just like yellow details. And maybe I haven't seen the whole helmet. I'd like to see it in the flesh to get a real sense of it. But it essentially, to me, looked a bit like that helmet, which is a beautiful helmet. Ruroc, don't get me wrong, it's a stunning helmet, but it's just a couple of Batman decals put on it. And I know there'll probably be more to it, but certainly how you see it in all the kind of the videos, the video stuff and everything that they show you, it just doesn't look. It's really understated. You said that earlier on. Really understated.
They could have done a whole lot more. And again,
I appreciate Batman is dark and mysterious. He's not garish, and he's not. It's all about that dark, hiding in the shadows kind of thing and everything. So that you're kind of limited, I suppose, in a way in what you can do. And if it's based around the new film, and the new film looks like it's going to be like super dark and super kind of low key and everything, I suppose that's what they've gone with. But I've got the HGC. Batman helmet from the Justice League films, and whether you love the Justice League films or hate the Justice League films or whatever, it does look like a Batman helmet. It's got the big thick Batman logo on it and on the top of the helmet and in the back, and there's details in that helmet about where the kind of wrist and arm guard things and all that kind of.
It's almost like painted in. Not the fin idea, but you can definitely tell. That there's a lot of influence for that into that helmet, whereas the Ruroc one, again, you're right, so far and what we've seen, it's a bit like, I've just taken an Atlas helmet and popped a couple of stickers on it. I could have did that. Do you know what I mean?
I probably would have.
Exactly. Stuck on there.
So a bit disappointed with that, but I can but it doesn't take it away from being a beautiful helmet. It just doesn't seem like there's that much of Batman about it.
No, and I think the difficulty is I don't know anyone that stocks Ruroc helmets. I think it's only from
all
them.
Online, isn't it?
I think it's all from them direct. So it's not as if you can walk into a J&S or an Infinity or whoever your local bike shop happens to be, whether it be sports bike shop or whatever, and go, right, I want to, there it is there, have a feel, have a look at it. You're having to shell out the best part of 400 quid to order it, to get it, to then go, don't like it, and then have to go through the heartache, but the just the ache of sending it back.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Again, I was going to say something else there, family show. But it's one of those ones. Maybe they'll be there at they might be at the NEC in December,
Yes.
which means you can go and have a look.
And try them on everything. That's the other big thing about a helmet. I mean, I've bought a few helmets online, and I've been lucky. They've been the right size, and they fit, and they're all great. But sometimes you can get. I suppose the worst fit, the one I've got is I've got I kind of picked it up for a bit of a laugh, but I do adore it. Is the X-Wing pilot open face helmet, right? Which is just, but it's great for just 5 minutes up the road to my work and stuff like that.
It does look cool.
It does look cool, but it's probably the worst fitting helmet I've got. You know what I mean? But it still fits safely. But I think if I tried it on in the shop, I might not have bought it.
Aye, or see the problem with that is especially HGC. I think I don't want to say the cheaper end of their range. They are a different size and shape. Do you know what I mean? Whereas when you go up to the more expensive range, they are a slightly different shape. I've got another HGC and it's not the same size because it was my first helmet. It was an entry level helmet, but again, it's not the same fit and size as what the Rafa is. So it's one of those ones you're outweighing the kind of finish of the helmet by the price scale.
Absolutely, because I've got the HJC Spider-Man one as well.
Oh, aye.
Which is the cheaper end. I think it was only about 129 retail or something. And then the only reason I bought it, I picked up on the sale for about like 60 quid or something, But surprisingly enough, it's actually quite a comfortable helmet. I was quite surprised at how, that one was fine, yet the Star Wars one was a bit more tight and a bit more kind of, but then kind of digs into your neck and stuff a bit. So, anyway, with the strap, but it really is. If you're going to spend a lot of money on a helmet, either be prepared to do the whole returns thing or all that, or go and try them on.
HGC are obviously when they made the X-Wing pilot, because it's the original one. It's Lux.
It's not Poe Dameron's one.
No, it's Lux one, and they've obviously made it on a Lucasfilm 1970s budget. The same as they did the movie. Possibly.
Much. Yes,
the Poe Dameron one might fit absolutely beautifully. Who knows?
I doubt it though. I think
they just painted it a different colour.
But it's got a nice kind of brass plaque at the back. It says 40th anniversary. So
it's worth it just for that. Even just to hang it on a wall.
Yeah,
for that.
Yeah, I've got them up on the shelf in the room. So the Spider-Man one doesn't come out very often, but when it does, it looks really cool sitting there.
We say that about the Ruroc helmet, right? But if we go to the bike show at NEC and they're there and it's like one special, I guarantee you, no, Ian, no. Oh, sorry, Susan. He bought another helmet.
Yeah, I know.
Just because it's a Batman one. But there you go. But that's me this week. It's been fun and games. It feels like it's been ages since we did the last episode when John was here.
Yeah.
Even though it has only been a couple of weeks, it's felt like weeks and weeks and weeks because for me it's been about reading that highway code and trying to memorise the highway code.
And I'm just my work's been crazy, so it's
But anyway. Good to get back in the cave. And then this week, obviously, we're recording this on Monday, and on Saturday we are off to the West Coast Harley Adventure Weekend.
Yep.
And we're going to meet Mr. Charlie Berman, which is just absolutely buzzing. We've got my wee average bikers and a cave gift. Yes. So
if by some miracle Charlie's listening to this before Saturday,
we'll see you on Saturday.
We'll see you on Saturday, mate. Yeah, good day.
If he's not listening, then ignore that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
If he's not listening, he'll hear it retrospectively. So
he will, because we're going to need to try and get him to do a wee plug for the show.
Absolutely,
it has to be done.
And we will bribe him with gifts.
Aye, totally. Aye, we'll get plenty of gifts. I'm not going to make any bones about it. I'm going to slut ourselves out. Do you mean trying to get some sort of...
You bought those Kevlar suspenders, didn't you?
Sure did.
Yeah, good man.
Yep, and the rearless chaps.
Oh. Cheeky.
As Harley Davidson, after all, we could get away with it. But that was the check-in.
Here we go.
Thankfully. It was, to be honest, it's actually we did know it was going to be a bigger checker than normal between you and your Harry Potter moment, and then you getting the joys of running up and down the road. So, but there you go.
Holy Hedwig, Batman. Hey, that could be the name. That could be the name of the podcast.
That is going to be the name of this episode. Holy Hedwig, Batman. That's the. Here you go. That is going to be.
Got it.
Right.
That's sorted.
I'm going to take note of that. While you introduce the next piece.
Yeah. So, as we said during the intro there, we cannot let this piece of news past really. It depends. Even if you're not the biggest MotoGP fan, and we're not the biggest MotoGP fans, but
No.
you cannot help but appreciate how stupidly talented these people are on those bikes. And when you see them, and I think stupidly talented is a great way of describing it, because you have to have a couple of screws loose to be able to go around tracks at that speed in these bikes.
Or what's of steel.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. Certainly an owl crashing into them would not phase them one single bit. These guys. So
I don't even think they'd lose half a second.
No, probably not. No,
it would be straight through it.
Absolutely
vaporised.
It'd be a bit like if anyone's watched The Boys, the TV series The Boys, when the superhero just runs right through the woman, and just that would be what it would be. Yeah, and I'm not spoiling anything because it literally happens at this opening of the film, the opening of the TV series. There's no spoilers there. That is literally how it starts. So,
good,
anyway.
because I've not got a spoiler alert button. We're snooker on that one.
Okay, right. Anyway, so as I was saying, we appreciate stupid talented people, and this week saw the announcement of probably one of the most insanely talented individuals to ever throw on a Power Ranger suit and straddle a bike. So this is our special on that, and that is for Mr. Valentino Rossi. I first knew about Valentino Rossi as a brand. You'd heard the name and everything, but there was a shop in Barcelona, and it was just full of like the coolest stuff ever. And I thought, my God, this stuff is amazing. The Doctor this, and Val 46, and all this. It was just, and I spent a fortune in that shop, just because. And I think I sent you a picture. I've still got my headband thing, my Valentino Rossi headband that I bought. That was maybe 30 years ago in Barcelona, just 25 years ago, or something in Barcelona. Just wow.
He is one of those guys though that has that brand. You think of like Cristiano Ronaldo, the CR7 thing at football. That's his brand.
Yeah, Roger Federer and his RF and all that.
Exactly,
Yeah,
and Nadal, his wee logo thing. Yeah. You've got Dwayne Johnson's got Project Rock or Planet Rock or whatever they call it, and then obviously Rossi's got his little thing. So very interesting. The biggest regret on Rossi things is I love Oakley sunglasses, and there was a limited edition 46. And I kept going to buy them, and I kept going, just a bit expensive. And actually, in hindsight, I wish I had them. So, but what did I do instead with Oakleys? I bought Lance Armstrong. So, there you go. Back to winning horse there, didn't I? Anyway. Massively great judge of character. You
Absolutely.
Let's go into a bit of history on the man, the legend. Would you class him as a goat? I don't mean as a... I mean as in the goat.
Yes.
I totally agree. Can't fault him.
No.
Valentino Rossi. He was born on 16th of February 1979, so he's actually closer to our age than I thought.
Yeah.
In Urbino, Italy, which is one of the more northeasternly kind of towns up towards San Marino, but on the kind of cusp, or the side that the Adriatic Sea's on. Son of Stefani and Gracinio Rossi, young Rossi was riding at a very early age, probably in part to his father being a former motorcycle racer. Rossi
always helps when you get that kind of.
Aye, when you're about bikes for that young age. I know. I'm still trying to instill that in at least one of my children. The other one's too far gone. It's too late. You're all right. You're sorted.
There's very few. I suppose there's very few people when you find out these sports people that haven't been influenced because they've been at it from such a young age, whether it's judo or running or biking or whatever it is. Most like Colin McRae's dad and all that. All these really top quality kind of people like that. They've always been around it since a young age. It's kind of in their blood, isn't it?
And there's probably questions on whether it's something that's. Is that a DNA trait that's getting passed in some sort
nature
of
or nurture?
way? Yeah, exactly. Rossi he was big into karting at an early age, and at 5 years old, he had his kart modified from 60 cc's to 100 cc's because it wasn't quick enough.
At 5,
that kind of tells you the story.
Yeah, absolutely.
I know there's a lot of Waynes out there that struggle to walk at 5.
That owl wouldn't even have caught him.
No, or he'd have caught it on the way by.
Exactly.
At age 11, Rossi won the regional karting championship, and then that took him into the world of mini moto. At the end of the following year, he won a number of races. In 1993, Rossi got his first chance to race 125cc motorbikes and joined the Kajiva team. And his first...
Could it be Kagiva?
It could be. And it does sound better when you say it like that.
Kagiva. That sounds like that's not a knockoff of somebody being able to take down, Afghanistan terrorists with a spanner and a rubber band. You know what I mean?
Coat hanger. Kagiva. In his first race meeting, he crashed in the very first bend, just after the pit lane. But he did go on that weekend to finish in an overall 9th, which is actually quite respectable considering you binned it on the first bend.
It's pretty impressive. So he must have been, 14 then, or 13, 14 when he did that.
When he binned it.
And it's funny. And we've a friend of my sister-in-law, her son's now riding for, I think it's KTM, doing all the kind of motocross stuff and everything, and they've just moved out to America and all that, and it's really cool. But he's just a wee boy. Do you know what I mean? He's been doing it since he was like 6 or something, again, it's like been around bikes forever. It's,
And the ironic thing is they could be riding bikes for that age all the way up until they're 16, 17. The minute they want to go on the road, they're going to need to go into a CBT.
I know, it's hilarious.
Come on.
Isn't it?
Really?
I know. So I'd say, anyway, as we were saying, I digress slightly there with the KTM thing, but just it's good to know there's still talent getting out there, and the teams are picking up nuts. Totally. And this is just a wee guy for south of Scotland, and he's now travelling the world with the KTM guys, which is absolutely superb, But all through 1996, so we jumped a few years, Rossi was racing 125s with his first ever podium coming in the 96 Austrian Grand Prix, where Rossi took a third place finish. So 1996, he's still no past his CVT yet. Or he's just past, maybe just past his CVT. Whilst placing third in the Austrian Grand Prix. Okay. At the following race in the Czech Republic, he bagged pole position and went on to take his first ever 125cc class victory. And the following day on an Aprilia RS125R.
Which is a quick 125. That's one of the, I don't know about at the race level, but I know if you were buying one for the...
for taking out and about.
It's right at the maximum of the BHP for the 125 category.
In 97, Rossi found his groove and went on to dominate the 125 season, winning 11 out of 15 races. So 321 points that year. And in 1990, he jumped up to 250cc. So his kahunas were getting stronger and stronger. And he came second overall that year. So to jump a category and come in second on the same year you jump up a category is just insanely talented. And yet again, in his second year in the class, he dominated with a total of 309 points.
Jumped to 2000, and he's now racing 500cc. So he was given a seat with Honda, where he was mentored by 5 times champion Mick Doohan. At the time, 500cc was the highest class in world motorbiking racing. It was again the slow start with points kind of here and there, a few retirements, but on the 9th race at Donington Park, again in classic British weather.
Sun split in the sky, was it?
For the first 5 minutes. And then rain, then snow, then back to sunshine again. Rossi bagged his first win. He went on to grab more podium finishes throughout the season and went on to finish second overall. Another second finish in our rookie season. So he jumped from 250 to 500 and finished second. Can you guess what happened next in 2001?
Let me think. Did he decide to give it all up and take up crochet?
No.
Okay.
He went on to absolutely smash it. He dominated in 2001, so his second year on the big bike, with 11 wins, only missing 3 times on a podium finish.
Wow.
He finished that season with 325 points, 106 ahead of his main rival, who was Max Biaggi, a third overall title. In 2002, MotoGP was born, or MotoGP, as we know MotoGP these days.
With the big bikes.
And it originally started with a 990 class, CC class. In 2002 and 2003, it saw 2 more titles with Honda before in 2004 Rossi switched to Yamaha.
And I think Yamaha's when I first kind of became aware when he was riding.
That's what I always remember was Yamaha, because you remember the blue with the yellow. again, despite everyone's concerns over the switch, Rossi did what he does best, and he absolutely dominated. In 2004, he took the title by 47 points, and then in 2005 he won it by 147 points. 2006 and 2007 brought about a few crashes, some of which weren't his own fault, but he still managed overall second, missing out only by 5 points to Casey Stoner.
I love that as a surname. Any
Casey
high end athlete, right? Who's clearly like totally on the ball,
Like a cyclist.
That cyclist, aye. No. And but a high end athlete on the ball, clearly super physical, super alert, whose surname is Stoner. The Raiders have got a player called Stoner at the moment playing in the preseason games, and it just makes me giggle every time.
It's almost. I'm going to use.
They say the Stoner's got the ball.
I'm going to use Alanis Morissette's definition of ironic, but that was ironic.
That was it.
Because if anything, being a motorcycle rider at that level, going at the speeds those guys go to, they need to have reflexes that are beyond human.
Hope you're listening, Colin.
And to be called Stoner, you know what I mean? You're like, what? Yeah. It just doesn't make sense.
Yeah, again, hope you're listening, Colin. Please remember that when you're at your big bike. Carry on. Bit of dead air there. Sorry, it was me, isn't it? That's right. So I was just actually imagining Colin trying to
get his knee down
while sparking one up. Do you know what I mean? Anyway, I could see him giving it a go. To be fair, so, I mean, we digress slightly. After 2 seasons with no titles, a few people thought, well, it's not going to happen again. That's Rossi. He's done. He's out of the game. He should retire. However, he had other ideas. Of course he did. He with a tyre change to Bridgestone, Rossi claimed a boost in motivation. And after the first race, it looked like a carbon copy of the year before, with Rossi taking 5th and Stoner winning. But it wasn't. Rossi started to dig in and took a second when Casey finished 7th. If I keep saying Stoner, I'm just going to bust it laughing, right? Backed up by 3 straight victories, and it looked like Rossi basically had a point to prove. He's like, I'm not getting beaten by the Stoner. That's what he was basically saying, right? You know what I mean? Because being the doctor, I've got to look after his health. He's no good for you, being a Stoner. You know what I mean? That was a really tenuous bad.
What?
Anyway, he's lining up for race number 15. Rossi just needed another podium spot, and the title would be his. It was an up and down race. Rossi was dropping in and out of winning position, even 5th place at one stage. But like a true champion, he pushed on, and in lap 14, he passed the race leader, who just happened to be
Casey Stoner.
Yep. And then pulled away from Stoner's Ducati to eventually cross the line and win not only the race, but his 5th MotoGP title. So then standing on the podium, his red t-shirt read, this is Italian, scusate il ritardo, which means sorry for the delay. What I said probably doesn't mean sorry for the delay, but I am purely reading it phonetically from what's written down. So,
in fairness, I'm going to give your listeners a kind of insight to the when we put this together. We had already kind of written out the podcast and the kind of rough lines for the podcast, and then we thought, here, wait a minute, I think we're missing something. Oh, aye, that's right, we're missing Rossi retiring. Yes. We better put that in there. So I quickly, mocked up, kind of some of the kind of facts in life, and I just thought that was quite interesting, and I thought it would be quite good to give that to you.
Yeah, thanks. Cheers, mate.
You can take your Triumph news.
I'm sure my pronunciation has left a lot to be desired, but essentially on his t-shirt was the Italian for sorry for the delay. That year, Rossi finished with 373 points, which was 97 points ahead of second place Stoner.
He just likes his Stoner. I was hoping to get away with minimal editing this week. It's just no going to happen.
No, absolutely, sorry.
2009 was a bit of a repeat of 2008, with not a great start, but gathering momentum as the season went on. With 306 points, Rossi took his 6th MotoGP title with a gap of 72 points. Jump on a couple of years. It's 2011. Rossi jumped ship and moves to Ducati, which you would imagine you would have thought would have been a match made in heaven. You know what I mean? The Italian kid with the Italian superbike. But it wasn't to be. With an overall 5th and 6th place the following year, it was a low point for the racing legend. In 2013, Rossi returned to Yamaha in order to try and recapture that winning formula that he once had, which wasn't that long ago. But with all the will in the world, he never went on to win another MotoGP title. Between 2013 and 2019, he would finish 4th, 2nd, 5th, 3rd and 7th. In 2020, Rossi finished 15th in the title race, and as it stands today in 2021, he's currently in 19th.
Yeah, and it's on the 5th of August 2021 at the Stygian, at the
One of
Austrian,
those.
at the Austrian MotoGP. Rossi announced his retirement from MotoGP at the end of the 2021 season. So, from his first 125cc win in Austria through his 26 seasons in Grand Prix, starting in 424 races, winning 115 of those, and with 235 podiums and massing a total 6,333 points to date. If you love your stats, that's the sentence for you. I think the only rider to have the same number through his whole career, the number 46, will always be renowned with Valentino Rossi, because he's one of the greatest motorcycle racers of all time. If they could retire a number, that's what you'd want. You know, like in baseball, they retire numbers.
Aye, and they date in ice hockey.
Yeah,
they retired Gretzky's number.
That's right.
And
you would want to just retire number 46, wouldn't you?
Aye, I think it should be. I think it's a pure mark of. I mean, I think his stats. When I was looking in and reading loads of different stuff about him, his stats don't make him the world's most successful rider. He's number 2, but in terms of modern riders, he's by far he's in front. I think the only guy that's above him is some other Italian guy. I feel like way back in the 50s or 40s.
Oh, actually, when they still pedalled.
Aye, so it's when it was literally he had the title because he managed to live longer than everybody else.
Aye.
So I think that's the only thing that stopped him. But I think in modern terms, I mean, or not even modern terms, in kind of the new era, I mean, he's by far the greatest racer I think we're going to see.
Yeah, please retire number 46 in MotoGP. I think that's...
Aye, totally. And I think he's chucking it to concentrate on the admin of he's got a motor racing team. I think it's VR46 or something, the VR46 race team or something like that. So you think he's going to focus on that kind of stuff. So
cool.
Yeah, fair play to him.
It's funny, and you do see it, and you think, when's the right time to retire? Do you know what I mean? When is the right time for you to be? Do you retire at the top of your game? Do you retire, when you're sitting currently 19th in a season? I think somebody like Rossi, it doesn't matter because he's achieved so much. Just being able to still get on a bike and do what he's doing is incredible.
Aye, and you look at it was like, I mean, we talked about it there. I mean, that 6-year period where he didn't win. I mean, he was still, 4th, 2nd, 3rd, 5th.
Yeah.
I mean, it wasn't until you kind of go to 2019 he went to 7th, and then 2020 and 21. But I suppose it's one of those things. If you love riding bikes like that,
you're going to.
Why would you not keep doing it?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
And I suppose if you've achieved everything, do you still have the same drive to achieve it again and again and again, or do you just say, do you know what? See, this season I'm just going to have fun.
We should have ideally, right? Ideally, what we should have had was our kind of resident expert, average biker, MotoGP specialist here.
Oh, Mr. T.
Mr. T, because he watches it. He
plays it when he's going to sleep in his headphones and all, doesn't he?
And he does watch a lot of MotoGP.
I wouldn't be surprised if his alarm clock goes
quite possibly. And his text tone does the same. Because Tio would have been able to wax lyrical and tell you all sorts of weird, and he could have picked race by race because he watches it. But unfortunately, Mr. Tio can't be here with us today because, again, we should cover this and check in. His wife gave birth to 2 lovely babies.
Come play with us, Danny.
Twins.
Twins.
Like The Shining. So hence why he's not here. But just while we're on that point, big shout out to
Tio, congratulations,
Tio,
buddy.
congratulations. And Irene, keep him in check, keep him off that bike.
Yeah.
I mean, just so that we can laugh at him not being on the bike.
Honestly, it's not about safety or anything. It's just about us being able to say, we're on the bike and you're no.
Aye. You should have kept in your trousers. Na, 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 na. But yeah, so maybe at some point in the future we'll get him in and we can talk a bit more about MotoGP and stuff like that. But yeah,
In fact, we could do that kind of like whole kind of obscure MotoGP quiz. We could think up like lots of really weird questions for him, see
and test him.
That'd be brilliant.
He's probably listening to this new, absolutely trembling.
Yeah, absolutely.
He's going, oh, I watched a few. But there you go. So aye.
What colour was Valentino Rossi's socks in 1996 in the third race of the of the Grand Prix?
What colour is Valentino Rossi's special underwear on a Saturday night? But there you go. He's gone.
That's giving an image. That's giving an image I didn't really want, but thanks.
And there'll still be loads of merch out there. There'll still be loads of Valentino Rossi merch out there. I guarantee it.
Oh, absolutely.
Because now that he's retired, I think his brand things just.
Folk
are going to start to look back at that.
He's only retired from MotoGP. He's not retired from business and from sports. And if he's got his VR team, VR 46 and everything, that's all going to be there. Of course it is. So yeah,
they should start to do what they do in tennis and do a seniors GP tour.
That would be, but they'd have to
terrifying.
Dating really old bikes.
You know aye, all BSAs for the 1950s. Yeah. Aye, that would just be lovely.
The BBC commentary in the background.
Hello. Talking about BBC commentary in the background, somebody posted on one of the Facebook pages or something like that. It was a 70s information film about riding safely. I'll find a link and we'll share it on the Average Bikers Instagram and all, because it is hilariously funny, right? Because it's that old Charlie here drives safely, but his friend is always in a hurry. This kind of thing. And of course, it's an old Triumph. It's quite cool. That's why I watched it. So and a BSA, right? So but it just made me think of Darren doing his IAM. So we'll share that on our social media pages for you to watch, because it's very funny about the sensible one, and then the upstart and his wee cafe racer scooting about late for work. It's very amusing. Yeah.
We should record the whole podcast with that. I need to try and find some sort of plug-in where that just changes your voices to that the whole time.
That'd be amazing, wouldn't it?
It's like, hello. Welcome to the podcast.
Yes. Well, today we are talking about safety on your motorcycle.
In this week's big news, Winston Churchill. No, it's just no worth it. No.
Anyway,
we'll
find that. We'll share it on social media. It is very, very good to watch. I love all those old 70s public information films. They're super.
Oh, I got the green cross code guy. The guy who used to tell you how to cross the road. It looked terrifying. But at the same time, they were telling you not to talk to strangers. Yeah. Don't talk to strangers unless he's a big green man, in which case that's perfectly acceptable.
In latex. And
in a onesie like
I think the one I've always loved is, we digress slightly as we always do, is the hypothermia one, with the guy going, this man looks drunk, but actually he is dying. Oh, all right, calm down, big man.
I know. In Glasgow, you're like, there's a load of folk at hypothermia.
It's Saturday night, hypothermia central, do you know what I mean?
I'm sure that's a cocktail in a few bars in Glasgow.
It probably is, aye.
Can I get 2 hypothermias and a zombie, thanks?
Anyway, carry on. Big news.
Talking of 70s
yes.
news.
Hello, it's now time for the news.
You're incredibly good at that voice.
It was a nice leader.
Incredibly good at that voice.
I can't take all the credit. There was a whole load of plugins I downloaded for the software thing going, what are my hands if I tweet? Oh, that sounds quite good. What if I add that? What if I add that? So yeah.
It's visually very exciting to watch Darren do that though, because he actually goes all kind of stiff and upper class kind of, it's time for the news. It's time for the news. At this point his shoulders are actually in his earlobes. Do you know what I mean?
It's how you shut your throat off.
Anyway.
Big news. Well, I say big news.
News.
After Valentino Rossi chucking it, there's not really much bigger news.
That'll be the Valentino Rossi chucking it. They kind of went, is there something missing? That the one?
Aye, that's the one. Yamaha plans for the future. As we talked about a few weeks ago, the big four manufacturers, or 4 of the big manufacturers, not the big 4, because I don't think there is big 4, but 4 of the big manufacturers.
That's beer in Munich. That's the big four.
Aye.
Anyway, carry on.
We're talking or coming up with the swappable battery for electric bikes. And while that development continues, Yamaha, who are one of the big fours, have showcased some concepts of the models that it's hoping to release in the coming years. Their overall plan is to push for carbon neutral by 2050, with an expected 90% of their bikes being electric and another 10% being synthetic carbon neutral liquid.
That sounds a bit kind of sci-fi, doesn't it? You know?
But I know. I'm like, oh, hello.
You
That's a new one.
Couldn't you see him? It was like Doctor Who going, it's, we've ran out of synthetic carbon neutral liquid and for the time
For the TARDIS.
time circuits of the TARDIS,
Now, while that sounds aggressive, the company's only targeting 2.6% adoption by 2030. So it's a kind of slow burner, and then once it gets going, then they're hoping for that greater
Again,
adoption.
I can understand that, because until it becomes affordable, you're not going to get a big...
And there's an infrastructure for it.
Aye.
That's the biggest kicker, I think, is
exactly.
the infrastructure. The four vehicles, and yes, I'm going to say the word vehicles, that they've showcased are as follows. They've got an EO1, which is a scooter equivalent of about a 125, but promises 90% full charge in an hour.
And is that the one with the wee, that looks like something that Total Recall, Arnold Schwarzenegger's Total Recall? Aye.
Yes, with the yellow writing on it. That's the one. The E2, which is the kind of same, very similar looking, but with red in it, is another scooter using an existing frame from an already scooter that they built.
Yeah.
And you can see that because it looks a bit less futuristic.
Yeah.
And that's not a bad sense.
If you like scooters, they're cool looking wee things, to be fair.
But again, that'll utilise the swappable battery.
Mm-hmm.
A power assisted trike cum scooter that's already been manufactured in small numbers. The Tri-Town 3 or Tri-Town 03 looks like something you would take on a train and then nip round the city centres on.
Aye, is it those fold away bikes, isn't it? It's like,
That's what it looks like. It looks like a fold away bike that's been kind of had a kid with the
kind of looks like
the Yamaha Nikon.
What's happened is you've got on a tube in London with your fold-away bike, you've banged into somebody else with a fold-away bike, they've all got kind of tangled up together, and you've tried to unfold them, they've created this bastard child of an electric scooter.
I'll bleep that out, aye.
No, because you don't have to, because that's the correct grammatical term for the word. The word is not being used as a sweary word. That is actually...
It does look like you've nicked somebody's front wheel, doesn't it?
It does,
You're like, the bike's got... the train brakes quickly and the brakes got kind of mangled up.
Having worked in social care, it looks like the kind of thing you'd buy at a mobility shop. You put a wee basket in the front, you know what I mean? You'd be alright, if you'd maybe had osteoporosis or something.
I don't know how it corners. If it uses that same technique,
Aye.
that same, not technique, but the same, what's the word I'm looking for? The same...
Aye.
You know what I mean? See the Nikon that they have that's got the double front wheel, the motorbike with the double front wheel.
Oh yes.
It uses that kind of lean and
that
whole technology.
It's not infrastructure, but it's
the way that the wheel leans, but the shock takes a lot of that, so that it's not just leaning; it's going up and down. It looks like it's utilising similar technology, which. You know what I mean? And everybody's listening to this going, what are you two idiots talking about? Go on and check it out. The Tri-Town 03, you'll see exactly what we mean.
We could maybe put those pictures up on the social media as well, just to that'd be quite cool. Because it's very hard to understand what they look like. Although I can describe the last one really quite well, but because it looks like Johnny Cab from... looks like Johnny Cab from Total Recall, right? Hi, I'm Johnny Cab. And but yes, it's if it uses that same technology and that same structure thing, whatever the word. If you're listening and you know the word, please post on social media. You can get it on Facebook, Instagram.
That's going to annoy me now. What that word is. This is going to be later on through the podcast. I'm going to shout it out.
You just go shout.
Aye. Lastly, and again we've talked about Johnny Cab, but the LMW, which is an inverted trike, so again 2 wheels at the front, 1 wheel at the back, looks a bit like a dune buggy meets Johnny Cab.
To be fair, Johnny Cab was pretty squared off in the Total Recall film. It's like if Johnny Cab if Total Recall was made now. There you go.
It stands for leaning multi-wheel.
And it's not that dissimilar. If you get have you had an inverted trike of those? Remember those BMW scooters with the roof?
No.
They were out. They were quite big. Maybe about kind of 15 years ago, and there was like a BMW had a scooter, but it had a roof, and you would just look at it and go, buy a car, So it's just like a big kind of dome thing over the top. You know what I mean?
Obviously, I think what they've said is the roofs will be on them initially.
Right.
But whether they then start to make them so that they either can take the roof off, or you can leave the roof on or whatever. But initially, they'll obviously be built like that, like a little June buggy with a kind of perspex roof capture thing on it. Again, I think it looks kind of cool. I don't see the point in it, because
I think
you're not filtering in that.
No.
I mean, all you're going to do is you're buying one of those scooters.
But as a showcase for the technology, it's absolutely ideal. Yeah,
Aye.
And it's the kind of thing that you bring it onto a stage with lots of flashing lights, and people go, ooh, that's different. And I think they've probably gone for super different to showcase the technology, and then they'll bring that technology and tie it into a much more.
Out the four of those, you're right. That last one's the one that stands out.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And maybe you're right that's just that. Again, it's imprinting something in the back of your mind that goes, oh yeah, I have seen that.
It's kind of like
it's Yamaha doing electric.
Aye, and I think people, when they think, I don't know if it's just a marketing thing or something like that, or but this concept of electric vehicles, people all of a sudden think of this utopian, urban, sprawling future where everything's quiet and everybody's walking about in big,
like the Jetsons.
Like the Jetsons meets Demolition Man, right? And and there'll be all these wee 3-wheeler pod things squeaking you about a bit. You see it a wee bit in Westworld, the TV series, in the later versions, when they've got all these kind of flying, kind of drone type vehicles and stuff like that, and the bikes and everything that scoot around. The roads are always dead quiet, right? So whereas you can imagine, as you say, we look at it practically and go, you're not going to filter on that, whereas that's designed for an urban setting where it's quiet enough that filtering isn't required. So
Aye.
I think
It's good though. I'll give them their due. It's another big manufacturer showing heavy commitment in
yes,
that moving to electric.
absolutely.
But I am interested to see what this 10% of alternative fuel's going to be. This carbon neutral synthetic liquid.
Yeah,
That's going to be interesting.
safe hydrogen, probably some sort of synthetic hydrogen.
Aye,
stuff
with
or something.
hydrogen cells. I know there is cars out there that do that. Again, there's no. It's the infrastructure. Again, it's back to infrastructure. Whether you go for
I
electric
think
or
in the whole of the UK there are only 2 garages that you can fill up your car with hydrogen, and they're both in the M25.
aye. Which again, you're not going to need to charge it because you're not going anywhere. It's the M25.
Exactly.
It's the world's biggest car park.
Yep, exactly.
So, but there you go. That's what Yamaha's doing on electric.
Brilliant. Next, we've got a completely non-electric vehicle. Yes. And we can safely say it's a bike. It's not a vehicle. It's definitely a bike.
It's a bike.
It's the 2021 Aprilia Tuono version 4. So clearly you've given me all the blooming Italian-y stuff. Tuono. The naked version of the RSV4 was initially launched 10 years ago and has been one of the best naked bikes ever since. So what's new for 2021? Well, it's the same 1077cc V4 engine producing 175 brake horsepower and 89 pound-foot of torque, which is it's certainly not going to. You'll get to your shops in time. You'll get to your job interview in time if you're going for a job, won't you? 209 kilograms dry with a seat height of 825 millimeters, which isn't too bad, I suppose.
No, it's not massively huge.
No, and there are 2 versions. The standard version at 15.5 grand comes with a more pillion-friendly riding seat and position, grab rails, and a peg position changes as well. You can change your peg positions. The rider position is still sporty, but a little taller due to a new seat. So probably really nice for a kind of sporty but still commuting type feel to it if you want to look cool, but a narrower 18.5 litre tank, new bodywork including MotoGP style wings or ducts in between very beady eyes that are full LED, which is cool. A taller screen to help should you be travelling down a motorway or dual carriageway at speed. some engine tweaks, and new part ceramic exhaust, which helps the Tuono. Meet Euro 5 regs without impacting that famous mid-range grunt and power. 5-inch TFT screen, which is fairly small compared to some of the other bike manufacturers it comes with, but it does come with everything you can expect. So, on need. The factory version doesn't have the improved pillion or larger screen, but it does come with semi-active Öhlins suspension. That's right, isn't it? Öhlins, isn't it?
Aye.
So, and it's a lovely looking bike.
It's lovely
looking bike, right? It's absolutely gorgeous, yeah.
The front of it looks,
You know,
it's
as you see, it doesn't look too racery,
no, but it looks meaty enough that
but it's aye.
could. I mean, it's going to
So
pull away quite sharpish.
you're sitting pretty high up as a pillion, though, isn't it? Even though it's pillion, it's a more friendly pillion bike. It's
Aye,
you're still
it's,
head and shoulders above the rider. Do you know what I mean? But I can see how they kind of sit up and beg bits a wee bit more up there and not quite as bent over, which is nice. But it's a beautiful looking bike. you know.
Aye. Again, I don't know what colours it comes in. I mean, the one we've looking at here is the kind of grey one with the Italian strip,
Yeah,
kind of doing the tank and stuff like that. It is a beautiful looking machine.
Yeah.
Been nice if it came in some sort of kind of
black and yellow.
got to say red, but aye, black and yellow might work, or white, or black in general. Aye, it's a lovely piece of kit.
Yep, lovely.
I need to find the nearest Aprilia garage.
Absolutely, yes, you've got
See if Blaga go. Next up, the Honda Custom CB1000R. Honda have partnered up yet again with customizer Guy Williamson to create another limited edition bike. Guy's known, if anyone watches a motorbike show with Henry Cole, Skid. That's Guy Williamson, which I didn't know. I mean, I obviously never heard never really heard the name. But then the minute I saw him, I went, "Oh, that's Skid, the motorcycle show." I'm going, "Oh, all right, okay." I didn't realise that. But again, this is not the first time that they've partnered up with Williamson to create something special. Last time round, they did a run of the CB1100 RS, and it's just the same. They're doing not doing exactly the same, but it's the same principle. They're only building 54, and they're all individually numbered. Now, while there are no changes to the chassis or the electronics of the brace engine of the CB1000R, which is fine because it's a beautiful bike.
Why would you change it?
What they have changed is some of the cosmetic stuff. So they've made a few cosmetic changes. So firstly, the paint job has changed to the special Honda Endurance paint job, which is all hand painted with a little hand painted Honda wing logo on the tank.
Which just looks stunning.
I know, it's a beautiful look bike, isn't it? A handcrafted headlamp cowl, which again looks gorgeous. Single person seat, all hand stitched with a diamond pattern, and then it's all leather. Laser etched is the 5-4, so that's 5 the number, and then FOUR logo. Also comes with race fit exhaust, which apparently, and I'm going to do air quotes, circuit use only.
Yes. Absolutely.
Don't believe it. Cough, cough. It comes in as £16,954, £5,000 more than a stock CB1000R.
If I had the money, I would pay £5,000.
So it's pricey, right? But it's absolutely beautiful.
It's stunning.
Beautiful. I've always had a little soft spot for the 1000R, for the CB1000R, CB1000R when they brought it out, and then they brought out the 650 and the 125, and they all look very similar. Just obviously the engine changes, and there's a few little changes here and there. But I've always had that little soft spot for it because it's a lovely looking bike. It's like a nice little TFT on it. The headlamp's beautiful. Everything. But this just takes it to a whole new level for me. Again, if I had the money, I would buy it. Again, £5,000. I'm going to be pragmatic and say if you bought a bog standard model at $11,500 and you had £5,000 to spend, you could probably create something very similar for probably less money. You could probably get an exhaust that you could use on the road for a start that put out a really good sound. You could easily get the seat redone. You could add a cowl. You could add the little kind of headlamp cowl to. You could, you could do a lot of that for that money. But I don't know.
Could you do it as well as that? I mean,
Probably not. But there you go. And
have you got a wee button which just has like birds tweeting and kind of love sound? Because I think I'm in love. I think I'm in love with that bike. I really am. And guess what? It's not even black and yellow.
it's not even black and yellow. If it was black and yellow, you'd be out of here. It'd be like the door would shut and
The podcast couldn't go on because I'd be a withering wreck in the corner crying.
or you'd be halfway to Victor Devine's to put your deposit in.
Exactly.
Which, speaking of which, it actually qualifies because it's a CB1000R. Right now, you can get 750 contribution for
For your-
Honda.
Can you?
Aye. So for all the bikes, £16,900. Call it 16 grand because Honda are giving you 750 quid towards it because it's a CB1000R. Well, that's just mental, but it is absolutely. If you want to check it out, just Google 5.4 or Guy Williamson, and it'll take you to his page, and he's got a little video of him riding it, and it looks even better. I didn't put that one here because I thought it'd be too much.
Aye, no.
I mean, the pictures that we've got here and our notes.
I need to concentrate driving
aye,
now.
it's
So,
just
aye.
it's just way too much. But aye, lovely looking thing, lovely.
Next, we have a new Aprilia mid-sized adventure bike. So after an initial hint of it in 2019, they've finally unveiled their new adventure bike, the Touareg 660 Adventure.
I'm just giving you the Aprilas this
I know
week.
you're giving me all the stuff, the hard stuff to pronounce. Touareg. I think I've got it right though. I think Touareg,
Aye.
or maybe Touareg, but Touareg.
Touareg.
I'm kind of basing it around
Touareg.
Volkswagens.
I know, that's what I
Aye.
thought.
Powered by the same 6.5 9cc parallel twin that is in the RS660 and the Tuono 660. This engine has had some tweaks made to fit this new adventure body, which probably isn't. That's maybe not the right word for adventure body, is it? Adventure body. No.
Aye, it's probably a bit more action
I've
hero
got it,
than. Aye.
It now has focus on more low to mid range in order to aid it round dirt tracks or whatever you happen to be, dirt tracks or in Glasgow roads, which are just like dirt tracks. Peak power of 78.9 brake horsepower and maximum torque of 51.6 pound a foot and a dry weight of 187 kilograms. So it should be pretty handy to scoot about. It should be pretty agile.
Which when I was first reading about it, I thought, it's a bit, you know what I mean? But you've got to remember, it is a mid-range adventure bike, and you don't want it being too heavy, and you don't want it having too much kind of BHP and all that kind of stuff. So when you balance it up, you go, actually, it's right in that kind of, not to say Goldilocks zone, if there is a Goldilocks zone, but it's right bang in that. In the fun zone.
Yeah, I'm just taking a wee picture because Dan, when he does all the copy, he always sends me pictures of the bikes and everything and puts it on for me to have a look at. So I'm just taking a wee picture of the amazing picture that Darren's put on the copy for me. It's absolutely fantastic. I'm in love with the bike, so I'm going to share that on social media later. It is stunning. It is a stunning bike. The picture that Dan sent to me of it.
That's funny because I've got that
You-
one.
you get that. I know. I think it's more to do with the fact that I'm reading off. For some reason, I'm reading off an iPad that doesn't want to show me pictures, but it will amuse you when you see it. You know. So as we say, it is a beautiful looking bike. Allegedly, it's certainly got a nice.
Got lovely wing mirrors.
I couldn't even tell you that, mate. But it has got a nice kind of end to its exhaust. Right? So. Anyway, as you would expect, right? That is actually quite a cool, funky looking adventure bike, you know. But it does look, that picture makes it look quite kind of small and compact, you know, which, as you say, you kind of need when you're kind of scooting about nice and light, don't you?
Aye.
So, anyway, it comes with 4 riding modes, which with a customizable on and off road settings, traction control, cruise control, and adjustable engine braking, all programmable through a nifty looking 5-inch TFT. And as you would expect from a proper off-road, there is loads of travel in the forks and the rear monoshock, and with large spoked wheels it has everything it needs to compete in the mid-range adventure market. Does it come with loads of cool boxes and things you can add on to and all that kind of stuff?
Don't know.
We'll find that out. Maybe I'll give you an update on that in the next one.
It definitely looks like it has the frame to support it.
Yeah, just if they put the
So-
boxes and that on it, I might have seen some of them in the picture. Would that give me something else to look at? No. Okay. It's completion clearly. What have you typed in there? It's completion. It's what?
Competition. Can you not read that? No.
Competition. To be fair, that's no bad.
I've got to leave one in. I have to leave one in.
We've been through it for ages, and I've not picked up on any of his other ones.
I have to
I've
leave
just
one
let them
in.
go.
It's the norm
But
now.
sometimes it
Have
throws
to leave
me.
one in.
Sometimes it throws me, and I go, it's what? Its competition is clearly the KTM 690 Enduro R, starting at 8,999, or the Yamaha Tenere, yeah, 700 starting at 9,502. But there's no pricing yet on this one, so we don't know where they sit with this one. The 210 660 was starting at 9,700, so the Walden will be far off that. Yeah. It does look like a cross between a 2004 KTM adventure bike and the new Tenere, but with Honda's Africa Twin red, white and blue paint job. I'm sure there will be an MCM 250 challenge in the future, and that will be featuring in it. So roughly the 10 grand mark, 9.5, 10 grand.
It does look heavily like a Tenere. It does have there's bits about it that I look at when I first saw it, and I went, it looks a bit like a Yamaha Tenere. But again, that seat at the back does remind me of like the old KTMs, but it's as a mid-range adventure bike, it's a nice looking thing.
It's a really cool looking,
and it looks like again, it's got full skid pan underneath to protect the bottom, and it is kitted just to kind of both go.
Yeah,
and those look like multi-purpose tyres that are on it. You know what I mean? If you can see that, can you see the multi-purpose tyres on your picture? No, you can't.
No, I can't. I can see the multi-purpose sand dunes in the background. I can't see the multi-purpose tyres.
Take it from me, multi-purpose tyres.
Yeah.
The couple of little snippets that have happened in the last kind of week or so that I thought we should just take time to kind of cover off. Just after we recorded episode 9, it was reported that Neil Murray, one of my favourite writers for Motorcycle News or MCN, passed away suddenly. At 63 years old, he'd seen, ridden, owned so many bikes over the years, and pretty much wrote about, I think, every bike ever made. He had countless pieces of work through his media career, but most recently had written over 325 separate articles for MCN. His wife said that he's a larger-than-life character. Our thoughts and condolences go out to his wife Anne, and the rest of his family and friends and all the guys at MCN. He will be sorely missed. Cheer us up, Ian.
Okay. Biker heroes. Ray Siemens. Siemens, is it pronounced Siemens like that? Yeah.
Aye.
Not a household name. Didn't run the TT. Didn't invent ABS. But he is a hero. Ray is a 64-year-old retired detective, and for the last 11 years has been a blood biker, devoting his spare time to volunteer in the transport of blood, platelets, samples, whatever the hospital needs. And last month, Ray decided to retire from blood biking after being on call every day since January 2020 in order to help move all the usual stuff, but also the added demand of COVID. In 18 months, he has had 11,000 runs, carried 11,000 runs, that'd be, wow, 1,100 runs, 1,100, 1,100 sounds better, doesn't it?
Aye.
1,100 runs, 1,700 carries 1,700 boxes containing anything required, and has covered, again, in 18 months, 52,000 miles, and that is 52,000 miles.
That wasn't my typo.
That wasn't your typo. All voluntarily. Despite the long runs, the sore knees, and the all-round exhaustion, Ray says he wouldn't change it for the world. He also said, "It might sound odd, but there's no better feeling than hacking through rain at 2 a.m, turning up at a hospital and them snatching the blood from you while shouting, 'Thank God you're here.' He is now going to give his knees a rest for a little bit, and then he's going to enjoy riding his own Tiger 900 Rally Pro. Ray, from all of us here in the cave, you, sir, are a legend, and we salute you. Enjoy your retirement, and definitely enjoy that Tiger."
52,000 miles in a year.
Wow. I know.
I don't think I've ever done that, even in a car.
No, absolutely. What do you do? In your car, what are you doing? 10,000 miles a year or something like that, maybe?
Aye.
10 to 12 maybe is about the average.
I don't think I've done 52,000 miles.
Was he
in
actually
all my bikes?
Was he ever off the bike? Was he?
It's frightening though, isn't it?
I can imagine that sense of achievement though when you get to that hospital and it's just like,
Aye, 2 a.m. Aye,
I've just saved somebody's life.
Aye.
Simple as that.
There's
You have just saved somebody's life. You know, and he's done that potentially 1,100 times. You know what I mean? Is that 1,100 lives he has potentially saved?
I know. Guys like that should be on the Queen's Honours list.
Aye. not your politicians and your
No.
your guys whose vanity project is sending themselves into space. What happened? What happens when billionaires, right, decided I'm going on a rant?
Oh, here we go.
What happens is that do you remember? You walk through Glasgow and you've got buildings and museums and art galleries, and you've got schools and all that all set up by billionaires. That was their vanity projects back in the day. Now it's about sending themselves up into space to look cool.
On the plus side, though, if they send themselves into space, it's the most expensive job to get insured for in the US. Astronaut, right?
Right.
So what does that tell you? It's extremely high risk.
Aye.
So there's always the hope that one of these clowns sends themselves into space and doesn't come back.
Well, there is that, absolutely. So, but anyway, as I said, these guys, right? These guys should be the ones that are getting no blasted into space, but do you know what I mean?
Aye.
But Ray there is the ones that should be getting, a statue built to them.
Aye, these are the guys that should be.
They should be on top of a column in George Square or Trafalgar Square.
Aye.
No, some wee guy that kind of takes his hand out his jacket. You know what I mean? Anyway, let's go to the big question, Molly. Go hit your button.
The big question. Just give visions of you standing on a plinth, your hand in your jacket. Oh, fun and games. Big question. Advanced riding. Yes, no, definitely, maybe. So, again, in light of me passing the IAM Road Smart Advanced Riders course, we thought it'd be time to have a chat and address some of the questions that maybe come with that, and then either share or split opinion on said subject.
We may actually disagree on this one.
I know. I'm looking forward to this one.
This is exciting.
I know.
You know fine well that by the end of it we're kind of going, But right, so with that in mind, we will try and get to the bottom of the benefits.
Folks screaming at their.
Would you just disagree?
I know.
Yeah.
That's 2 hours of my life. I'm not getting back.
Yeah, and you've just sat there and went, yeah, you're cool, yeah, you're alright. Anyway, with that in mind, we'll get to the bottom of the benefits, the cons, if there is any. Anything that isn't of value and anything we think should be taken into CBT and DAS as standard. And I think that's a good shout.
That's the eye. This is the bit that I'm interested in.
During this, we will also look at the highway code, which I bet loads of people listen to haven't looked at in years, including maybe at least one of us who is talking in this podcast hasn't looked at for years. Not you, because you've been sitting studying it, but
Yes, I've been sitting.
And there's some significant changes, so you might want to have a refresh of your highway code.
So in the UK, there are 3 main options for advanced riding. But there's probably more than that, right? But there's 3 big ones. You get the Institute of Advanced Motoring, which is the IAM, which is the one I did. You then get the Royal Society for the Prevention of Accidents, ROSPA.
Which when I was at primary school, there was posters everywhere for ROSPA. Nothing to do with motorcycling, but they're such a big organisation just around health and safety and anything. You know what I mean? Or is that as we thought at the time, Killjoys?
The sucking the joy out of it.
Both of these are registered charities and have loads of local groups. The UK government runs a course and qualification called Enhanced Rider Scheme, or ERS. In the US, again, there's loads of various advanced rider courses from manufacturer-run ones through approved private-owned advanced courses.
And probably a few cowboys out there as well, because it's America.
Aye. Fun enough, I was watching Smokey and the Bandit this morning when I had my breakfast.
So good. Thanks for that gift, by the way. That was spot on.
It was good, wasn't it?
Yeah, excellent.
Aye, that was my inspired moment this morning. So firstly, what is the advanced riding course? So these courses are designed to give you a toolkit of techniques and principles that are designed to make you a safer, more efficient rider.
So what is involved in advanced riding? That is the question, first of all, because I've heard it, spoken about, and I've been out with a couple of guys, back in the day, and they've shown me a couple of techniques, but what exactly is it? I think so. We'll cover the IM first, because Darren here has first-hand experience of that one. First off, you get a welcome pack, and your local group will contact you and tell you where and when they meet up. And on your very first session, you will go out for an evaluation ride. And that will let your observer see just where you are with that, and where you're going to hone your skills and the techniques you will learn. So, quick question, and this may be covered later on, Dan, but are observers just people who have passed, or are observers specifically trained to be observers?
So in the IAM, your observer has passed. Obviously.
So if I was to come to you, would you could be my observer?
No.
All right, okay.
No, they're full members, but then they go on to do another course,
Right.
which then
Cool.
lets them be local observers, or because you get two, you get local observer or national observer.
Okay. The system the IM use is based off of the police roadcraft. So what your traffic cops pretty much learn.
Yep.
And do it. The system allows you to enhance your observation, sensible anticipation, and accurate planning skills to deal with any potential hazard, thus making you a safer rider and a more thinking rider. So it's about reading the road ahead of you, but it's like reading the road ahead of you in steroids. Was that probably best?
Pretty much, aye.
After about 8 sessions with a local observer, you hopefully are in a position to go and take a test. Test lasts about 90 minutes. 90 minutes? Jeez, that is a stressful 90 minutes then, isn't it?
Aye, it gets better.
Aye. You are followed by an examiner, and all IAM examiners are service of retired police, yeah, it's getting worse, who hold the PAM, Police Advanced Motorcycle Certificate. Yep. Do you have to be a service or retired policeman to be an IAM observer? Or does that
An examiner?
Examiner.
They all are, yeah.
They all are, yeah.
Yep.
Right. You'll get 60 minutes riding on various roads, including motorway, town riding, and twisties. Sometimes you'll be asked to do some slow manoeuvres if you haven't managed them on your run. Then you'll stop, usually at a coffee stop, and have a chat and answer some questions in the system and on the highway code. All going to plan, you pass, and then you're a full member and an advanced rider. You can pass or you can get a first pass. A first is where you scored ones, the top mark in every area. Darren, did you get a first pass?
No.
Okay. Moving on swiftly. Now, Rospa.
Thanks for that.
Cheers, pal. So ROSPA is very much similar in terms of the aim of the course and what they're trying to achieve with you, the rider. It's a 4-day course where you will learn to develop hazard management and risk reduction. The ROSPA test is 45 minutes. This is already far more appealing to me than the IEM test, to be fair. To an hour, and is carried out by a ROSPA examiner, all of which are serving you still get the blooming serving a retired police officers, haven't you? That's quite a heavy pressure on you, isn't it? And you can pass at bronze, silver, or gold level, gold being the best, obviously. The government or DVSA run enhanced rider scheme is a one-off assessment of around 2 hours, and if your skills are up to scratch, you get a certificate. You get a wee piece of paper, and if not, you get some personalised training to improve your skills. Then you get a certificate. So is that a bit like your CBT where you can't really fail it?
I don't know if you can really fail it. I think it's just they get you to go out and do stuff, and then if
you
there's
didn't
stuff
do it,
they want to,
they put you back a year.
They tweak your skills a wee bit, and then they go, "Oh, do you know what? Thanks for coming. There you go."
There you go. Here's your participation.
Pretty much.
It's a bit like a typical government at the moment, isn't it? This whole nanny state, this whole kind of, here's the badge for participation.
Exactly. Aye, it's lit. Yeah, really.
Okay. I would. IEM or ROSPA feels as if they've got a bit more clout about them.
Those are the ones that tend to be recognised by insurance companies.
Aye.
And those are the ones that'll get you a bit of, depending on your insurer, will get you some sort of discount. So, but there you go.
Right.
Will doing a riding course make me slower? You see that question quite a bit. Now, clearly undertaking any advanced riding while under supervision means that you stick rigorously. Can you say that? And I've spelled that right. Rigorously to the speed limit.
You've actually written religiously.
Maybe it was meant to be religiously. I have no idea. Again, I'm a bit
Rigorously.
Religiously.
Religiously
Anyway,
works better.
you want to stick religiously to the speed limit when you're out with the obviously unobserved runs, because that's part of the mark. You need to be observing all speed limits. If you don't, you get marked down.
But we never go with the speed limits.
No, we never. We absolutely never. And I have never seen an IAM observer or senior observer go over the speed limit.
Exactly.
Again, which is the law and what we should all be doing. Again, assuming everyone is sticking to the speed limit, then becoming an advanced rider is not going to make you slower. Assuming everybody's sticking to the speed limit. Okay. Now, if anything, I would argue that even while the main purpose is to make you safer or a safer rider, the skills you develop let you see and anticipate far sooner which means you can be more progressive when you're riding. So there's two good examples of this where techniques that are designed to obviously keep you safe, but they're also designed to make you be progressive as well.
Yeah.
Going into a corner, you position yourself in order to maintain that safety bubble, okay? But also in a way that allows you to see further in the bend. If that makes sense. So
Fun enough, that was one of the techniques that I was shown way back in the day when I wasn't out.
So if you're going into a right hand bend, there's no point in hanging. You mean the apex on the inside?
Aye.
You know what I mean, of the road.
The further to the left you are, the more you're going to
you're
see.
You're further to the left, because then anything coming in that maybe misjudges the corner isn't going to hit you because you're protected, because you're further out. And not only that, you can see that further. You can see where the road starts to straighten out again a lot sooner. And it just gives you that more advanced view. Secondly, developing your reading of situations and further along the road allows you for more overtaking opportunities. I'm going to say this was one of the things that I struggled with the most.
Mm-hmm.
However, on the day of my test, I managed to get one in beautifully, which is even the guy that runs our group, when I sent him my run sheet, which is my kind of scores, he even went, "Really, an overtake?" But again, it's one of those ones. I've seen observers make overtakes on roads that I would originally have went, "No way can you overtake on that road. There's just no way." However, when they break it down and you go back and you take that road slower and look at what they're looking at, and again, this is just practice. Once you get that toolkit, you then enhance that toolkit by continuously practicing.
So you can only get better.
Yeah, exactly. But it does mean that where other people are maybe waiting on a straight to overtake, you see much more opportunity to get past vehicles if you have to, and still while maintaining safety, still creating that bubble around about you, but you can get by stuff a lot quicker. Most cars generally will slow down for corners. It's just because they can't go around corners that the way. It's just physics. Whereas motorbikes don't need to slow down as much for the corner because they've got much more road to play with, and we are much smaller and thinner, which means straightening out some of those corners is so much easier, providing you have that vision to see what the rest of the road's doing, and that's where...
And that's a mind trip. I can, even now I'm trying to think about it in my head, and the roads that I tend to go on, I'm going, really? Could you?
Aye, there's a good one. See if you're coming for yours into the back of Loch Winner.
Aye.
There's a nice wee bit, where the turning is for the Largs Road?
Yes.
Right? See as you come down there, there's a wee twisty bit of road down there. You can actually see right through all the trees. You can go, whoa, right on the opposite side of the road because you can see there's nothing coming.
Wow.
Right? The cars have to slow down for those bends. We don't. We can go boom, straight through. It's quite... that's what makes you... I know what to say. That is, you're not slowing down. That makes you not quicker, but you actually you can be more progressive.
You'll get there quicker because
you're being more progressive,
and you're not getting stuck behind.
And you're not getting stuck behind stuff that normally potentially you would be stuck behind before.
We better wear blue rims out taking the cat to the vet.
Exactly. Previously, the IAM have run track day sessions where you can get...
Can I just say, it could also be wee Roger with his flat cap. I don't want to be sexist here.
It could be Roger with his flat cap.
Taking his lizard to the annual reptilian show for the West of Scotland. Yeah, okay.
Could be. Yep, absolutely.
I cover all the bases here.
Yep, no, totally. We don't want to alienate MD.
No.
We
want to insult everybody. It's one of the two. That's fine.
I would go with that one. But I'd rather insult everybody. Yeah, they used to run track days with the IAM, but obviously with COVID and that's just never happened. So, and that's where you can again learn to get the bike over a wee bit more, which means you can be a bit more getting into corners depending on conditions, because sometimes conditions mean you really want to be upright anyway. So, but yeah, I don't think it makes you slower. If anything, the reason I did it was to know that I could go out on a run, however long it may be, and always come back.
Aye.
That was the fact that you can make overtakes if you want, or you're learning that seeing further up the road and anticipating and being able to go, well, actually that road straightens all the way up there. I can see that. I'll just go for it, and I'll take, I'll pass this lorry or whatever because he's having to slow down to 30 to around that corner, whereas I can straighten it out and go right past them.
Yeah.
So
Cool.
But there you go.
So what are the benefits then? Obviously, you've touched on a few kind of practical, just kind of reading the road kind of benefits. But the greatest benefit of advanced riding or learning the skills and system employed by these organisations is that you are actually a much safer rider. And I think you probably hit the nail on the head there. You can go out for a ride and you will come home. It's probably the best, most simplest way of describing it. It's not to say that without it you'll go on a ride and come home, but you'll come home. It'll be a safer ride.
It increases your chances.
You'll be a much safer rider, and your awareness and planning for potential hazards is greatly improved. And if that increases your chances of going a run or a tour and coming back in the same condition physically that you left in, which is fit and breathing, then that's a benefit. And also, I would imagine mentally as well, because if you have a scary near miss because you've done something that you've no read right or whatever, you can an owl flies at you or something. Do you know what I mean?
Aye.
If you've not got the toolkit to deal with that, then see how we bring it all back round again. It's great, right? So we fly it all the way back round.
I don't know.
So, exactly. So it gives you that skill, doesn't it? It gives you that, but that kind of presence of mind to be able to deal with it. And then you're not then going to be all shaky or shooken up or whatever or freaked out either.
Aye.
Yeah.
I'm not going to name his name, but the examiner that I had, he had a little card in his pocket, right? And he took it out and he read it, but that wasn't for my benefit. That's his benefit. That's something that he has. He keeps it in his pocket. He doesn't need to read it because he knows it.
Aye.
And that's just him saying to himself, right, when I go out, I want to come back, blah, 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 and do all that stuff. And every time he comes back, even if it is just a half-hour run, he'll come back, have a cup of tea, and he'll give himself 5 minutes to replay the whole run, right? And go, what went well, what didn't go well, what could I have done differently, what did I miss? Was there anything that I missed?
Aye.
So that he can then enhance that skills. And I thought that's quite a clever thing, just to give yourself that 10 minutes, just to kind of, like, oh, I hit an owl.
Yeah.
Is there anything I could have done differently to avoid the owl?
Yeah. No. Anyway, when you join the AM, actually, some insurance companies recognise your advanced rider status and can factor this into your renewal, but not all do it.
No.
And it's a bit like these things. Don't if you've got advanced rider, certainly tell them about it. You might get a discount. You know what I mean?
Yep.
But not necessarily. When you join the IEM, at least there are organised runs that are open to associates, which will be the name given to trainees. So you were an associate, but you'll now be a member.
Yes.
Is that right? Excellent, lovely. And to members,
You were just desperate to call me a member there, weren't you?
It's a family show, of course I wasn't. So to those of you who have passed, I say those of us who have passed, I haven't passed. There isn't an us here. There's a you.
No, I know, but
it's fine. So your group had 2 a month, yeah.
yeah,
One Friday night chip shop run and a Sunday all day.
Yep.
A lot. Friday night chip shop run does quite excites me, to be fair. Usually brunch in there somewhere. There are additional runs if you want to go, but there's no obligation. Do you have to do your 2 runs a week?
no,
No.
it's purely just a social run.
Social run.
Aye.
You can join, do the runs and pick some stuff up while you're there, and then eventually you kind of go, actually, you know what, I'm going to take this, I'm going to do some intensive stuff.
Aye,
And
there's
go
usually a
for it.
guy at the front leading, and then a guy at the back just picking up any stragglers, and then it's usually just a mix of associates and observers, and it's literally just a run to go and get a bag of chips.
Cool.
You know what I mean?
That works for me. So it's another social avenue for you to get out and meet fellow riders. Again, for all the hand groupies out there, if you don't know what a hand groupie is, then listen to episodes.
I don't remember.
Can't remember. I mean,
4.
4. Must be 4. We've said
It
it.
must be 4.
Right. Of course, it won't be now. Anyway, Darren.
Aye, we'll look back and go, wasn't it? It was episode 5. Like, you clown. Any downsides? So one downside that I can see is the time and the money investment that not everyone has. They don't have either, or they don't have both, or they don't have one of the other. The other downside, or maybe it's a benefit, I don't know, it depends how you look
Love
at
this
it.
phrase. Right, go for it.
You start to see the mistakes and bad habits in other road users. Not just your fellow brethren on 2 wheels, but also pedestrians mammals.
Mammals.
Middle-aged men in lycra.
Aye.
Which I know, and there is one guy who is an observer at our group, and I used that phrase one night, and he kind of took a bit of offence. Now I know him quite well actually, so, but he's a mammal. He is obviously a really, really good biker,
Aye.
and
probably a very safe cyclist.
Aye. But at the end of the day, he puts on lycra. He's a mammal. Car drivers, bus drivers, lorry drivers, any kind of road user, you will notice the bad habits, and you'll notice them probably after your kind of second ride. When an observer, as you start to read the handbook,
right,
and start to go through it, and then start to read the highway code, you go, wait a minute, is that what? No, that person's doing it wrong. That person shouldn't be doing that.
I quite like to be the person that knows that somebody else is doing things wrong. It gives you that nice sense of superiority.
It does. It really
so
does.
If you're that type of person, IM's probably spot on for you.
Oh, definitely.
You get to, in your head, be king of the castle, you know?
Aye. The amount of stuff you see now, even I don't like to shoot myself on the foot here, but even you see other motorcyclists on the road, and you see they're going down they're going down a street that's quite busy with parked cars and stuff like that, and they're still maintaining a 2/3 position. So they're still towards the white line when there's parked cars on either side and cars coming towards you, and you go, that's not the safest position to be. I would be out a bit and try to you don't want to be too close to the cars in case somebody opens it, but I'd rather hit a car door median 30 as hit a car with median 30 and it doing 30, because that's 60 miles an hour. So it's just it's all those, and that's even the best example. I mean, mobile phone users.
I think probably
mascara.
Don't worry, quite good fun to do then. Maybe for a future podcast is for you and I to go out for a ride and you can critique.
What, you're riding?
My riding, aye. I mean, you remember the Tron incident? So, and not Troon, that's a different thing. But the Tron incident, yeah, that would.
Although it might be Troon when I type it up.
It's very true. Aye. Yeah, that would be quite cool. Anyway, how much does it cost? That's, I mean, as you say, one of the restrictions is
price.
You don't get it for free. It's £149 for the advanced motorbike course.
Now, should have a wee brakes button there. Brakes on. I didn't pay £149. I went to the Scottish Motorbike Show the year before. Well, it was the February, and then COVID kind of went and stopped the world on the March.
Yeah,
and I got it for £99.
So what? So there will be offers out there.
So there are offers
shows
out there,
and things
motorbike
like
shows and all that kind of stuff. You can get it for cheaper.
I suppose the aim of IAM, and if you spell IAM a different way, it would be the aim. There you go. The aim of the AIM of IAM is to have as many safe riders on the road as possible. So it is the kind of thing I presume they'll promote in lots of road shows and things like that, and you'll be able to, so if you're thinking of doing it and you're going to a motorbike show or something, keep a wee eye out. I'm sure there'll be a local stand or something there, maybe giving you a couple of quid off it, yeah. It covers your membership. Is that for the year? Or is that forever?
I don't know, it's hard to, it's hard to tell because COVID kicked in, so, but it should be for the year, which should be like a full season, so that should be enough time for you to get in enough observed rides and whatever, but essentially, I mean, mine lasted a year and then some.
Fair enough with COVID. So it's you get a quarterly magazine. Yeah. After you pass, you can forget all about it, or there are a number of options. Cheapest being membership option being £42 to be an IAM member. For £58, you can have a fellow membership, and this includes an evaluation test every 3 years. Okay, cool. Thanks if you could. ROSPA course is £20 per lesson, with the test costing approximately £70. So let's say 90 to 150 quid for you to get your ROSPA certificate. Yeah, roughly.
It's about the same.
After a pass, your yearly subscription fee is £110 with ROSPA, but you also get a 3-yearly retest with that included. And the Enhanced Rider scheme is £175 one-off for your participation certificate.
Aye.
Right. There are loads of other private-owned courses out there by schools who have trainers that have been through IM or ROSPA, but again, they probably won't be recognised by anything. It's that whole thing, are you actually getting a good course or whatever, the IEM, the ROSPA, and the government will be adhering to a particular standard that they must adhere to and make sure that you pass. So be wary of those ones. But there may not be anything else in your vicinity, and it might be something that's worth doing today. Yeah.
Vicinity's a good word.
If you live in England, Wales, or Northern Ireland, or if you live in England, Wales, or Northern Ireland, there's also the bike safe workshops that are run by the local police. I'd throw these in, Darren just looks at me and goes, "What are you doing?" Which is worth a look also, yeah. Not sure the costs, we didn't have anything available when we were doing the research, and they weren't running during COVID, so...
No, I tried to book. Well, I say tried to book is on. I tried to go and look for summer slots, but with COVID, it's just everything's still kind of semi on hold.
Yeah. So, conclusions.
For me, let's take it in kind of order. Is it worth it? I think for the toolkit you get, I think the IEM. I don't know about the Ross ones, haven't done it, but definitely for me, the IEM one. By far, I could, even if I had failed the test, I'd have been still quite happy. The fact that I'd learned a whole new set of skills, a different, not so much skills, but a different way of thinking when you're on the road. Do you know what I mean? Which I feel safer when I'm riding. Not because I'm going any slower, because I don't think I am.
Mm-hmm.
Just you're constantly giving yourself more leeway in terms of stuff that is potential hazard. There's a really clever video online as well that it's an IEM observer down south, and he's out with a trainee or an associate, and the associate's out in front, and the guy who's at the back is talking to him. They're on comms, and he's talking to him, and they're driving through what could have been Bishopton or Kilmacombe, right? And they're driving
kind of villagey.
Aye, and there's a
busy village.
most of the right hand side is parked cars. There's nothing really on the left. All right, so it could be one of these villages where they, you can only park on that side of the street that week, and then the following week you park on the other side of the street, which does happen up here. It happens in Kilmarnock quite a bit. But as they're driving along, he's obviously commentating and he's talking to the associate as they're riding up. And then he says, and you'll see the guy standing at the bus stop, right? Now, the bus stop, there's two parked cars at the bus stop, right? This guy's literally standing at this little tiny pole that says bus stop, and you can barely see him, right? Because of the parked cars. But the observer sees the guy and he says, "Oh, you see the guy at the bus stop? Must be a bus coming. So let's just move ourselves there a wee bit in case there's a bus coming around this corner."
Yeah.
Sure as fate, right? Without a word of a lie, and if I didn't know any better, I'd say they were all in comms, including the bus driver. As they got to the corner, round comes the bus driver, and he is right on the white line. If you're in that 2/3 position, that's scarily close.
Aye.
But the fact that he's seen this guy standing between two cars at a bus stop that you would have easily drove by without noticing, he just had that sense to go, maybe there is a bus, I'll move out. And it's things like that. It's like when you're driving down these again, little villages, and you see the bins, you go, is there a bin? Is it bin day today? Must be, the bins are out. Is the bin guy been? Last thing you want to do is go down a corner, and all of a sudden there's two guys dragging bins up the street, and there's a parked bin lorry, because they guys just do, they just stop wherever
they just go for it.
They just stop wherever they feel like it.
Aye.
Again, one of the ones you look back at the highway code and go, really? Stopping that close to a corner? Or stopping that close to a junction? So, from just if I'd have failed it and no done the test, just the 99 quid to get that experience, get that insight for guys who have been riding a lot longer than I have and at a greater standard than what I have, I think it's totally worth it.
You're selling it to me, son. You're selling it to me.
But the other thing is because obviously we go back to episode 4, 5, 6, whatever one it is, I'll cut that out. But the hand groupie in me actually enjoys the kind of the ride part of it, because there's some nights there was like 2 associates to 1 observer, and then there was other nights there was maybe 2 observers to 1 associate, because you would have guys who were training to be observers out with you and a fully fledged observer, and you're hearing all the little bits that those guys are missing, that You know what I mean?
Aye.
So you're learning all that as well as learning your own stuff, because they're obviously watching you in your position, watching their position, and watching what's coming. It's a lot to take in.
That's what I think I found when I went out and somebody had done their IM was just telling me a couple of things. I just thought it is so much to think about, So when you're looking at putting adding more things into the first test, and I remember I'll probably get blown out the water for forgetting it all or remembering it all completely wrong. But your bike test itself is all about big position in the middle of the road so that you take up as much of the road as you can so that people see you.
I think in mod 2 they try and they edge you towards the 2/3 position.
Yeah. So, but it's like make sure that you take up your position in the road.
Aye.
And I remember when I was out with John. Who
command position, I think they called it.
He kept saying, I've got to own the road, I've got to let everybody see it, and he was swaying away out there. Now, I've always had in my head that whole thing when I'm going round corners. I go out to the left or I go out to the right, depending on the way the corner's bending, so that I can see more of it, and I'm out the way. And if you're going to the left, you pull out a bit, but you've got all that space to pull back in if a car's coming and all that kind of stuff, because it's less likely for it to be cutting the corner coming in that way, that kind of thing. But So I've always remembered that, interestingly enough, and I found that even without doing IM, but just knowing those 2 or 3 wee snippets of kind of technique, that I would watch John and go, John, just pull in a wee bit, will you? Just go a wee bit to the left, would you? You're going in this corner, just go a wee bit,
One of the big things,
and I think that's I think to me, having known it now, but of course it's kind of ingrained in me now, but that's a really, really simple, easy thing to pick up, understand and learn that they don't teach in your test.
The one thing, and you're right, I think because it is a system, right? I've got the roadcraft there, right? The roadcraft is that thick, right?
That's a big gap between his fingers, ladies and gentlemen.
That's about an inch. That book's about an inch, right? And that's the system that all police riders and because remember, the IM isn't just motorbikes. You can do your car advanced riding as well, right? So there's that roadcraft book's about an inch thick. The IM book isn't that. It's literally just the kind of the little. It's almost like a cut down. It's like a Diet Coke version, right? To the roadcraft's full on fat version, right? And they're teaching you enough of it. And I've read the roadcraft, and it's heavy, intensive, right? And it goes into all different types of manoeuvres and overtakes, and there's loads of stuff in it, right? It's if you haven't read it, it's so worth a read. But try not to get bogged in and taking it all in to put it into practice, because you better go into an IM or a Rosspot and
do it rather than read it.
Aye, because these guys will teach you because it's great having the toolkit, but it's not all. You don't always put it into practice. Example would be a left-handed bend. You get into a left-handed bend, the position for the advanced rider, right, would be you're out at the white line, because you're trying to maximise what you're seeing around the corner, because again, that's giving you, one, the best chance to straighten out that corner, but two, most importantly, it's maximising your stopping distance.
Here's a question for that though, right? If you do that in your mod 2, will you get marked down for it?
Well, I don't know, and this is one of these things that
if you actually have learned, or like you're sitting there and one of your girls decides to get on the bike, and you're taking them out and you're showing them, and they're following you and they're following your line, and you're saying this is because I do this and I'm IM and all this, and then they go and sit their mod 2 and they get would they get failed for no sitting in that 2/3 position?
No idea. And this is one of those questions that I haven't asked yet, but I have every full intention of asking.
And it kind of ties in with the Rossi thing, doesn't it? You know what I mean? Rossi was clearly a far more skilled rider at 16 than he needed to be for a CBT.
He was a far more skilled rider at 16 than I will ever be.
But you know what I mean? But it's that sense of if can you be penalised for being better than you are?
Well, see, this is where I think maybe the CBT and the DAS course maybe needs to evolve a little bit, right? Now, again, it's been a while since I've done my CBT, and it's been a while since I've done my DAS, as you know, and I'll quite happily put this out there.
When I did my DAS, they were writing it down in slate and chalk, so, yeah,
pre 1990.
That's it.
what I want to do next is obviously get into the instructor side of stuff. So I want to do CBT instruction, and then obviously maybe it depends how things go, get into that larger scale. So I've been watching stuff back on try to kind of form almost lesson plans for CBT, for instruction, all that kind of stuff. And there's some of the stuff that you're looking at, and again, it should be a standard set by the DVSA. That's what you do, but I don't think it is, because I've read the DVSA syllabus sheet and it's kind of open to interpretation.
Guy,
Do you know what I mean? So if the mod 2 is the same, who's to say what's right and what's wrong? I think it needs to be a bit more cut and dry. We talk.
An interesting question for you to ask your IAM guys for the next time you're out.
Well, I'm going to ask the IAM.
Chip shop run.
Aye, I'm going to ask the IAM guys, but I'm going to ask an instructor on what their view is on it. You know what I mean? Because I know, obviously, we know Colin went to the guys at Biker School, which is the local biker. The local biker school, one of the local biker schools to us. That's who my wife's that way, and you know, we've sparked up quite a good relationship with those guys, and hopefully I can get in with those guys and you mean
absolutely,
that.
Yep.
But I want to ask those guys' opinion, because I think one of their instructors is an ex-police rider, so it'll be interesting to see what their take is on it.
Is it almost like you've kind of got to go, I can't teach you this and I want to?
Well, that's what I'm thinking, because you're looking at it and they're going, when you see some of these guys who present CBTs not at Biker School or any of the affiliate ones that we know of, but more the guys you watch on YouTube who are working for biker schools, right, down south, and they're going, right, okay, so when you first move in the lane, you want to be in that central of the lane position, and you're going, well, then you go to do the mod 2 and they try to teach you the command position, and you should be that little bit further out, and you know what I mean, but is that set in stone, or is it you be in that position unless there's something coming towards you that's potentially dangerous, in which case you move across
and you get to a corner, so then where do you go?
So is it that, and what the IAM use is that don't sacrifice anything for safety. Safety always comes first. So if you're in a position and there's something coming towards you and you need to be in the complete opposite position, so if you're in two-thirds, there's a big massive arctic coming, I'll go into the 1/3 position and I'll be right out at the curb, because that's the safest position. That gives me the maximum amount of time and the maximum amount of room between me and that lorry. Exactly. And it's those kind of things that, for all the system, as we say, we're saying, oh, there's a lot to take in. It's those kind of little things that you go, are we teaching that at CBT? Are we teaching that at DAS? Because if we aren't, should we be? I mean, should there be a standard where you go,
or are we teaching them to a standard that gets it, like they do say when you pass your test, whether it be a car or a bike, that's when you start to learn. So is are we just saying, do we get you to a stage, you know?
Aye, do we give you the basic skills to get you on the road safely, and then it's up to you to either learn by mistakes or advance that training. So when you get, obviously when you do CBT, the next training is doing your DAS. Once you've done your DAS, is it then right, it's up to you whether you go and you do it or you don't do it.
So here's a question for you to help to kind of think about this. What percentage of safe are you when you pass your DAS, and what percentage of safe are you if you do the IEM? Just ballpark kind of what you think.
I think I must be at least 3 times safer, at least, I think, and it's probably more if you were actually to sit. It's difficult because of COVID, I've staggered this over kind of like 1.5 seasons, like riding seasons. So you're April to October time, or April to September. Purely because COVID kind of knackered us. We were late starting the first year I was in the IAM. And then the second season, because they were catching up in COVID, there was so many associates and not enough observers that we were kind of staggered and stuff. So it's difficult to remember what I used to ride like. But I know, I feel like I see so much more on the road, not just further ahead, but just I have much greater anticipation to other road users and what potentially is going to come. You know what I mean? There's no point in me being away out on the right hand side if that bend's so tight that.
And that bus example is a great thing, because that is something you come across everywhere. Is, you know, buses pulling out and driving through the middle of the road.
Aye.
Bridget Weir, which is a local village to us, is horrendous for that. And there's a bit in I mean, I know in Bridget Weir now, when I go down that road, I'm way off to the left, and it looks like I'm almost scraping against a blooming wall, you know. But I know how to anticipate anything coming around that corner. But if you were rattling through that as a biker and you didn't have that local knowledge, you know, but you had the IEM knowledge, you would do the same thing. But if you didn't have the IEM knowledge, you'd be sitting in your 2/3 position, your command position, and some nut on a Chelsea tractor would
come flying
in the corner, and you know, all of us, and it's a rubbish road surface, and before you know it, you're moving out the way, you know, your back end's away, boom, you know.
Aye, and not to upset MD out there that owns, you mean, one of these rather large school run mobiles.
Yeah.
But a lot of the times they are in the self-entitled group. You know what I mean? I remember being in a room one night and I was coming back. Was it Kilmacombe?
Yeah,
No, it wasn't.
These places aren't areas of huge social deprivation, let's put it that way.
No.
No.
But this woman was driving, I think it was like a Merc GL. You know what I mean? It was it was like a, you know what I mean, quite a big thing. And I don't know where she was going, but she just decided to stop in the middle of the street, and then she proceeded to put her hand out the window and wave me past when there was oncoming cars. And you go, well, you're clearly no looking at what's coming down that road. How am I going to squeeze between your massive bus and the car coming the other way when there's parked cars on that? And the ironic thing is there's a car park on her left hand side. She was at the junction for the car park. You go, well, you could just pull in there. If you're pulling in to go to one of these shops, how about you park the car in there and don't just stop in the middle of the main road?
That does sound like a Kilmer comic, to be fair. Do you know what I mean? As you like to call them it, yeah, you know.
But it's like, you know, I mean, it's one of those ones. You're coming in there and you're seeing what the back of their head's doing, and you can. And I said this to somebody else. I know when somebody's on their mobile phone, you mean even with the 2-second rule, because I can see the head going down, up, looks about to make sure there's no police about, down, up. You see that and you go, they're on the phone. And you're going, oh, that really annoys me. And I want to be one of these guys that drives up beside them and goes,
knock, knock, knock.
Get off your phone, that's illegal. But, you know what I mean? My wife keeps telling me that's probably not the safest idea.
No.
You know what I mean? But
and if to be fair, the people in that entitled group just look at you and say, you're not the police, so
I can do what I like. You know what I mean? But there you go. It's not for everybody. A lot of people don't, you know what I mean, feel that they're safe enough. A lot of people don't enjoy the being scrutinised.
I don't necessarily feel I need it to make my enjoyment of being on my bike any different than where I am just now. But as you're saying, you can't remember now where you were before you did it.
Aye.
And I suppose it's a bit kind of like that in the sense of, you know, if you don't have £150 to spend, or even £99 to spend if you're getting a deal or whatever on it, you know, but you're sensible and you're switched on and you're a bit savvy in the road anyway, you know, it's probably not necessarily a must for you. You know?
No, and there's people out there that ride that are probably naturally not cautious but are safe.
Aye.
And have passed their DAS or whatever, and then went, oh, actually, do you know what? That command position, right, or middle of the road, doesn't work for me all the time. I want to make sure that I'm giving myself that wee bit, and they're naturally, you know what I mean, they're just built that way.
Aye,
in which case,
my biggest fear for doing the IEM would be that actually I'm not good enough. You know, does that make sense? I'm not really a very good rider. You know what I mean? I've been riding for years, but I've only dropped the bike a couple of times. But you know, I've never been involved in an accident or anything apart from somebody banged in the back of me, but it was bad. You know, so I think to myself, well, what if I get there and just look like an idiot? You know what I mean?
No.
But I don't think that's the case.
No,
I've never
case.
met anybody to that. And actually, so I mean, I am sorely tempted to do it. Another thing though is the time commitment that you will need to put in. It's like anything. If you want to do it, You have to have time, and you have to have time free. And as you say, if it's a Friday and a Sunday and you work shifts or you work long hours or you've got a job or a lifestyle that doesn't allow you to commit to particular days, it may be a bit of a waste of money for you.
For you, the difficulty would be that commitment to your observed runs. Forget the social side of stuff, the Friday and the Sunday. But every Wednesday, our group, the Glasgow group, or Glasgow South group, always met Wednesday night, 6:15, at a car park on the other side of Glasgow at Shawlands, right? And albeit, as long as you're there between 15:15 and 6:30, that was fine. And then you would set off no long after that, and then that was you wouldn't get back to about half 9. Sometimes I've seen it 10 o'clock just with the light, because you're having that good a run. You just keep going, and then you stop for a coffee and a debrief, and you know, next thing you know, you're leaving the coffee place, whether it be Starbucks or Costa or Timmy Hortons or whatever, and you're going, Jesus, it's 10. You know what I mean? My dogs need walked, and that's the biggest, because you can be out. You mean, albeit, for me it was like every week, but it was the kind of, it was, if I hadn't pushed, it would have been every other week, just because the amount of associates and the amount of observers we had because of the backlog of COVID. That was the difficulty. But again, the policy about our group is if somebody drops out, first one to reply, you can get the space. Well, again, my day job working for a mobile phone company means that my mobile phone is right there on all the time. So
you got your space.
So I got my space. You know what I mean? It was the kind of standard joke at our place that, I mean, if I hadn't replied within like minutes, folk thought I was dead. You know what I mean? And then I was in a meeting one day and missed it.
So I think, so you're saying that a big issue then is the commitment level of things.
I think that's the biggest thing. I get it, £99 is a lot of money. If you're getting it at that, I mean, if you're getting it at like a show price, right, it is a lot of money. But I think the time commitment's more because you're then committing to every other Wednesday for, you know what I mean,
7 months.
For a whole season. You know what I mean? Because you're going to need to do, I think, depending on your level of riding, at least. And
I would be raging if I paid that money and then couldn't go out as often as I could.
Aye,
you know.
And there's folk in our group that drop out every other week because their work's just in a position where they need to hang on, or there's an emergency or that kind of stuff, and you kind of go, you're missing out. Do you know what I mean? So that's I think that would be your biggest constraint.
Yeah. And you has it taken the fun out of riding?
Oh God, no. Oh God, no.
I think that's the big question for a lot of people, because as soon as you start introducing what people see as health and safety into things, people go, oh God, it's the health and safety guy. Here he is, Mr. Charisma, but
twisties are so much more fun.
I mean, describing even just that road at last, where you can overtake in the curves that nobody else would, then just why wouldn't you?
No, we did that. One of our Sunday runs went from. We met at Bothwell Services on the M74, and we drove down. We stopped at Bigger, and then headed all the way down to Moffat. I think we did about 130 something miles that day, and that was only a half day run. You know what I mean?
Aye.
But see, between you leave Bigger and just after Bigger, you go into the back roads all the way to Moffat, and there's maybe about a mile stretch where the road's a bit a bit bumpy and a bit crap. But see, after that, it's lovely big sweeping twisties and what you got. And I was the only associate. The other 4 guys were all observers, and we powered down that road. You know what I mean? Absolutely powered down that road. And seeing those guys put that technique and the practices in there, you know what I mean? We flew down there. You know what I mean? So we met, I think, at 8:30, and we did that 130 mile. We had breakfast, a full breakfast in between there, and I was still back in the house for 12:30. We flew. So definitely it does make the twisties more fun and more enjoyable. And all these techniques that they teach you become second nature. You don't really. I don't think about it now when I'm out. It just happens. It's like a involuntary.
So here's a question for you then, right?
Yep.
should you restrict the type of bike you can get unless you've done IM? So
No, because I think there's naturally gifted people out there, you know what I mean, that are just that are good riders but are safe riders. That
I suppose that could be controlled by, that could be technically be controlled by insurance companies, couldn't it? Do you know what I mean? So if you go out there and you say, right, I'm buying myself a Hayabusa, right?
Yep.
You know, and you phone up an insurance company and it says, I'm really sorry, but we cannot insure you for a Hayabusa because of your age or because of your, you know,
your previous track record of being a loony.
of being a loony, or because you do not have an IM.
Or some
because
sort of
you're not
advanced
an
rider
IM
certificate.
Advanced rider certificate.
It's one of those ones, but you know what I mean, you could go out there and ride to the speed limit absolutely perfectly every single time you were out on an observed run. Come the day of your test with your police examiner, you ride perfectly, brilliantly to the speed limits and blah, blah, blah. The minute you're all passed and done, you get home, you pick up your brand new Hayabusa, you can still ride like a clown.
You can put on your
You
new
can
Power
still
Ranger
ride
suit.
Like,
and
you
go,
can still ride like an idiot.
Aye.
So
It's just about playing a game in it. But then it's the same with bike testing.
Aye, totally. You having to ride to standard to prove that you can ride to that standard. If you then completely ignore it, throw it out the window, then mere fool you've just wasted the 99 quid. But you're definitely going to take something out of it. And I think that's where we start to look at like the fellow membership, where you pay that extra 10 quid a year or whatever, but then every 3 years you're guaranteed.
You get your
You get that
put yourself
it's
back in
almost a
check again.
retest.
Aye.
You know what I mean, just to make sure that you're still, living the dream, but you're still meeting that standard. That again, and I would imagine if you spoke to your local group and said, "Oh, listen, I'm doing my retest. Any chance I can commit a couple of runs just to see how I'm getting on?" I dare say they would turn around and go, "That's fine. Come out and one of us will come out with you," or tell you what, one of us will come out with you on like a Tuesday night or a Thursday night, or so and so gear phone and just pick a day, and I mean, just to make sure that you're still up to scratch on,
Cool.
the kind of ins and outs.
So talking about all that, right? Because I know we're rattling on a bit in time and everything,
Yes.
but we're going to talk about the highway code
Yeah.
as well. So because there's some changes in that as well that affects.
Because as if it wasn't boring enough, we're going to talk about the highway
Exactly,
code.
yeah. So, so part obviously we talked about the fact that you've been brushing up your highway code for your IEM stuff, and you probably need to know an awful lot more about it for that than you can remember from being able to just pick it up from the last time you did your theory test umpteen years ago.
let's stop and distance.
So in late 2021, the highway code is going to set some significant changes, and at this point, our overseas listeners will be thinking, it doesn't concern me, I'm going to go and make myself a taco because it's Taco Tuesday or something like that, right? Or maybe a Texas barbecue for our listener in Texas. But unless you plan to visit or tour the UK, then maybe it's quite good to just hear about how these changes compare with the regulations in your country or state. So
yeah, and I think it's one of those ones as well, is even though you might be in a different country or state or whatever, and you don't, it's maybe worth keeping an eye on what regulations do change and how frequently they change. But the changes that we're talking about here, they're going to introduce almost a road user hierarchy, with the aim being that those who can cause the most amount of damage are being given the most responsibility, which is
it's the Spider-Man clause in it.
It's like an unwritten rule anyway.
Aye.
Today, that all they're really doing is just formalising it. You know what I mean? Example would be if I'm driving a van, right, or an Arctic, or a Big Mac truck, right, and I find myself next to a mammal, a cyclist, right, a middle-aged man in lycra, then me as the driver of the big massive lorry or van or whatever, I have the burden of responsibility or the duty of care to ensure the safety of the cyclist. Now, this does not mean that I need to follow him, right, and push other traffic out the way so that he gets there safe.
You're not his bodyguard.
No, I'm not his bodyguard, right? But I need to...
But with great horsepower comes great responsibility.
That's exactly it, right? That's exactly the
So
what
let me
I'm trying to put
so,
across.
but just so what we're saying is that the highway code in late 2021 is Uncle Ben lying in the ground.
That's it. It's the
and
it's covered.
the road user is Peter Parker, looking into his eyes fading out, and he turns in and says, "With great horsepower comes great responsibility."
That's
Right.
that's it. Right, that's it.
Right, cheers, see you later. Thanks, bye.
Thanks for listening. But it doesn't mean that it doesn't mean that a cycle in that situation, in that example, doesn't mean that a cyclist is void of any responsibility. Do you know what I mean? He can't be weaving, you know what I mean,
Aye.
frantically all the roads or
Riding
whatever.
7 abreast.
Aye. But in the event of an accident, then you know what I mean, there's going to be more questions asked of me driving the van or the Arctic or whatever than there would be of the cyclist. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think before, you mean, we'll go into it again more, but for me, all it's going to do is breed dash cams.
Aye.
That's all it's going to breed.
It's maybe whoever it is written the highway code has got a holding in some dash cam companies.
Aye, Nextbase or something
Yeah,
like that.
exactly. And of course, with this current government, I wouldn't be surprised. So, anyway, yeah. So, but as you say, it seems like common sense. So we take the hierarchy and look at it certain scenarios. So, big examples: junctions. Drivers will be expected to make sure that no vulnerable users, pedestrians, cyclists, horse riders, because you do get a fair few of them around our bit, don't you? Are crossing the junction. Well, in my bit.
You get suicidal owls.
That's
Do you know
true.
what I
That's
mean?
very true. That's interesting. Is the owl technically a road user, or would the owl fall under the CAA, Civil Aviation Authority?
I think he'd fall under the
Would then
aviation
have to
authority,
be phoning air traffic control and let
It's
them know?
alpaca riders you need to worry
That's
about.
what
Kill
I
my go. Llama riders.
Exactly. So they're vulnerable users are crossing the junction, waiting to cross or approaching the junction with a likelihood of crossing. If you spot any of these in any of those situations, you're supposed to wait until it is safe before pulling out of the junction. So that's a bit like pedestrians have right away, isn't it? Kind of.
Aye.
Which
Vulnerable users have right of way,
vulnerable
aye.
users, right. So it's vulnerable users. And if you're behind a cyclist or a horse rider and you're approaching a junction, you must wait until they have turned out before first continuing. So you don't scoot up beside the cyclist and try and cut them off to get in front of them, for instance.
Aye. Or an alpaca rider.
Or an alpaca rider, exactly. So that seems like common sense to most of us, but now it's actually law. Yeah,
Aye.
the law. And to be fair, it seems like common sense to most of us, but you see people scooting up beside cyclists and all that because they know that they want to get in front of them.
If MD
And actually, a junction's a perfect opportunity for you to take off quicker and get in front of them.
if MD wants to waste hours of their life, go to YouTube and just type in UK dash cam footage. Right?
Oh, it's great, isn't it?
It
It's
is
nice.
hysterical.
Aye.
The amount of people who think that certain things that they do on the road that not only would I class as dangerous, but the highway code and the police would definitely class as dangerous, seem to think that's the norm. You know what I mean? And they go, no, that's the norm. And some of them are challenged on it and they go, yeah, but my friend's a driving instructor and he says that's fine. Well, he shouldn't be teaching MD.
As you my driving instructor, exactly. Yes, so past cyclists will also be changed to a clearance of 1.5 metres for under 30 miles per hour and 2 metres when travelling over 40 miles per hour. That's probably going to breed a massive sale in extendable measuring tapes, just so that you can. No, I think so. No,
Selfie stick.
it's a selfie stick.
Selfie stick.
I know, a 1.5 and a 2 metre selfie stick. No, but obviously it's a guesstimate a bit. But basically they're saying you can go a wee bit closer and slower scenarios.
Well, they already kind of started that
But they've done
campaign
that.
here, didn't
Yeah.
they? Where they put adverts on the telly to say if a police catches you being too close to a cyclist, he's going to pull you out.
Aye. Pedestrians and horse riders will be 2 metres as standard.
Yep.
And 2 metres is quite a fair distance.
It is.
And you must not exceed 15 miles per hour. It's really only formalising an unwritten rule and giving it a measurable target as such. It's a very hard thing for them to judge. I mean, I don't think they're going to count if you're 1.7 metres or whatever but it's basically a sensible distance, but they've got to put
They need to put something there that's...
yeah. There are reinforcements for pedestrians or cyclists or vulnerable users approaching or waiting to cross at zebra crossings.
Now, this is my pet hate. But carry on.
Okay. It's all about not entering a crossing if you cannot fully clear it. So it's like sitting over the top of a zebra. I mean, this actually reads like some sort of weird animal fetish thing, but you got to sit. You cannot sit on top of a zebra, puffin, pelican, toucan, or equestrian.
But interesting to see how many people know that there's that many different crossings.
Exactly, yeah. I do.
And how to identify them.
I know. Interestingly enough, I saw it was Endeavour I was watching the other night, and the guy that plays the kind of chief constable guy was doing his own safety video. You know, I presume something. So I don't watch Endeavour normally. It just happened to be on the
It
telly.
just happened to be there.
But they recreated a 1970s how to use a pelican crossing, and it actually told you what pelican stands for, which is really cool. Can't remember what it was though, but it was brilliant at the time. Like, oh, is that what pelican stands for?
The same way toucan.
Public lights, something
Crossing,
yeah.
something, aye.
Anyway, and I think Puff and Pelican, Toucan, Zebra. We know why a zebra crossing is called a zebra crossing, right? Puff are all are kind of acronyms of that. What the crossing is actually doing, yeah.
Yeah.
But if you cannot fully clear it, but I mean, I always understood you can't sit on top of a zebra, you can't sit on top of, in the middle of a pelican crossing or something like that. But you see people doing it all the time, you know. It's the crossing equivalent of a yellow crossing box.
I've seen pedestrians on the crossing it, and folks still drive through it.
Aye, me too.
And you think, oh, I want to go out and cut your horns off.
I know,
You should have been on the road.
But it clearly must be a bit of a grey area in the current highway code then about it.
It is.
You know, so
It
now
is.
they're saying, no, didn't do it.
Aye, they're really just tightening the screw up on it. You know what I mean? Which, again, I don't know. I'd love to know what the statistics are for people getting killed on zebra or injured on zebra crossings or any kind of pedestrian crossing, just
Yeah.
because the amount of people that you see doing them. And to be honest, right, I don't want to say it's not always driver or the rider, because we should be paying attention on the road. You should see them coming. But there's certain councils and states and where they place them sometimes I think is silly. They place them like 5 meters after a junction. The minute you put the first thing you're doing at the junction when you're looking is you're looking in both directions. I mean, you always have that wee last check for, in this country, anything coming for the right, you always have that wee last check, and then you pull out. And the minute you pull out, you've only got 5 meters, which again isn't that far.
No.
And then you're having to stop because somebody all of a sudden's appeared and started to cross the road. And that's where you think, that's where now, again, as an advanced rider and reading through the book and all that stuff, you then, when I approach a junction, I'm looking right, looking left, checking for any pedestrians that are potentially coming. Last check right, and then I'm gone.
Mm-hmm.
Because then I know that if there's a pedestrian that potentially is going to go, then I know that I'm just going to creep around that corner really slowly, because they might just put a foot out. Because the amount of, what it's like, modern day headphones, earpods, mobile phones.
Talking to somebody on the phone.
Pedestrians just don't watch.
No.
And they just go, well, I'll just step out. It's a zebra crossing. Traffic's supposed to stop. Well, that's assuming that people are watching. So I'm glad they've tightened it up. You know what I mean? I'll be the first person to stand there if a car cuts across it or is parked on it. You know what I mean? Because there's another parked motor and they can't quite get round it. So we'll just sit on the zebra crossing. I'll be chapping the windy. Hello, did you know? In my best 70s infomercial voice.
And that's why we want a dash cam on Darren's bike.
Yes.
To capture that and the audio. Hello.
The minute that happens, I will download the thing off the bike.
Please do.
Don't worry, and you can see it.
Right.
Moving on. Now, these are my two favourite rules.
And I just like to put a public information announcement in here that we are a family show, so do not let your mind go in the gutter.
No,
anything
this
here,
is
please.
a
Please.
warning.
Thank you. Warning. There is no double entendre or innuendo or euphemism here at all. Thank you. Carry on, Darren.
So my two favourites that are going to be added, right, is an update to Rule 239 on parking, a new technique commonly known as, again, warning,
Funny.
the Dutch reach.
Oh.
I kid you, I'm not making that
Yep.
up.
No, I've
The
heard that before. Dutch reach, yeah.
will be actually written in the highway code. So this encourages anyone who is in a car
To put your head underneath the covers and...
No.
Oh, no, that's a Dutch oven, isn't it? Right, sorry. Carry on.
Anyone who's in a car and wants to open a door uses the opposite hand from the handle. Okay, so naturally your body then twists, which makes it easier to see what's coming behind you. And as I said that, both me and Ian went, twist. If you're sitting in the left-hand seat, then you would open the door with the right hand. So you would open the door with right hand. If you're in the right hand seat, you would open the door with your left hand. So that
I'm just going
actually see what's behind you.
add something in here, right? That, however, could have a catastrophic effect on the NHS for sore backs. It's the amount of folk that put their back out doing that.
Or, devil's advocate, that small movement, right, every time you open the car door, may actually increase the strength of your back, causing less.
So, and
back
I'll
problems.
tell you why that popped into my head, right? Because I used to work for Strathclyde Police, and as part of the job, I had to drive pool vehicles to go places, and so you have to go and you have to sit and you have to get a driving test done by one of the police driving instructors, right? And it is literally, it was more scary than doing my actual driving test, right? Because clearly by that point, all my bad habits were like,
ingrained.
They were
You
the
didn't know they were
highest
bad
level.
habits at that point.
Exactly. I was
They were
getting
just habits.
I was getting high scores on them, right? Do you know what I mean? It was like Outrun, right? So, but for those of you of a certain age that remember that game, and one of the things he mentioned though was about that movement. Was the biggest cause of drivers within all driving industries, not just the police, but going off with bad backs. That twisting movement. Yeah, he said, and getting in cars and getting out of cars and the way they twist, and he talked about how when you get out of a car, you're supposed to swing both your legs out and then stand up, like you're kind of finishing a squat, rather than twist your legs out and leaning over to get your seatbelt and all this kind of stuff. He said it actually was for people who drive a lot. Different when you're just driving, going to work and that, and you're commuting, right? But for people who drive a lot, that is and especially police who get in and out of cars a lot.
And I'm hoping funny, right? But you're saying that, and I'm thinking, you arrived here today driving Baby Bell's car,
Yes.
right? John's car.
Yeah. Thank you, Baby Bell.
That doesn't really lend itself to swinging both legs out and then pulling yourself out of the car.
It's the only way I can. So it's actually the only way I can get in and out of that car. Watch me get in and out of that car. I mean, it's not pretty, but it's effective.
Kel McComb's answer to Charlize Theron.
That's it. That's me.
I'll
Yeah.
get out the car this way.
I'm
Keeping my legs
I'm like the J'adore advert when I get out.
She didn't he?
Yeah.
Aye, it's one of those ones. It was, watch this space.
Yeah.
Also,
much safer to do, but a catastrophic effect on orthopedics within the NHS. Right, carry on. Chiropractors are going to make a fortune, though.
I know. I might need to retrain as a chiropractor.
That's it.
Impending job security coming.
I just use it as a backup. Hey!
We'll just end there.
Sorry, okay.
This is my favourite.
Right.
Right.
This is good.
And
This is
this
brilliant.
is a warning. This is sarcasm level turned up to 20.
But this is very relevant in Kilmacombe.
When I say
so relevant.
sarcasm level turned up,
Yeah.
I mean that when I say this is my favourite rule ever, and this is going to save so many lives. For eco drivers, now this is going to be written into highway code, you must ensure your charging cable does not pose a trip hazard to pedestrians.
So do not be a Tesla tripping tow rag. Do not do that.
I read that and went, dear God, what is the world coming to?
That's the equivalent of when you buy an iron. There's a warning that's saying, "Warning: this product gets hot." Do you know what I mean? Do not. Yeah. Okay.
You know what I mean? Do not make sure your charging cable.
And actually, that rule does not need much more talking about it because it's so ridiculously absurd and everything that it actually makes its own humour, doesn't it? Really?
It's not even worth. Aye, no. Anyway,
Although for some people, they probably want you to trip up over that electric cable so you can just look at their car a bit longer.
Oh, I'm sorry, did my Tesla charging cable trip you up?
I think you'll find this is this public car park is actually a Tesla showroom. Anyway. Yes. Do you think in the highway code it will say though that if that is the case and you trip up over it, you can rip it out in anger and stop the car for charging and walk away going, you ain't going nowhere tonight.
I wouldn't even rip it out. I would just loosen it a wee bit so that it stopped charging and make it look like it was locked down.
See. That's because you're an advanced An
That's
advanced
the
rider.
advanced rider,
That's
isn't
it. You've looked in it. You've seen that further ahead. That's it. You know.
Yeah, I'll
To
just
me, I'm like,
wiggle
I'm
it out a wee bit.
just a
so
simple
that
rider. Pull it out of anger. You're like, no. It's a long game we're playing here.
Aye.
I'm reading
Aye.
the road ahead here.
I
I'm
want him to
reading-
think it's
I want him
charging
to-
until
I
he
want-
pulls away.
I want him to walk by as he's popping out the coffee shop going, no, Tesla's still sitting fine. Charging away, we're sorted. Up the road, all of a sudden. That's it. See, that's what being in an advanced motor is all about.
See.
There are a bunch of other rules that are mostly targeted to situations where drivers are not the largest road user. So when footpath and cycle paths cross over or are shared, and in this situation the cyclist burdens the responsibility or duty of care. So that must mean though that cyclists have a duty of care to pedestrians.
Aye. So
Yeah.
so it is literally that top down hierarchy. You know what I mean? If you're in a lorry and you're on the road where there's anybody else on it, then you've got the biggest responsibility.
Aye.
Cars, you mean?
Which for your mammals, right? Your middle-aged men in lycra,
Oh, they'll be loving it.
they'll be loving it, but they won't be loving it when it comes to going on the Sustrans system, because for them that is their own personal
Yes.
private highway, and you went, no, it's sustainable transportation route for all types of transportation that's non motorised, and that includes Shanks's pony.
Aye.
You know, so and people always complain, especially in chemical wanderers. So chemical wanderers page is brilliant for reading all that kind of stuff, right? And people moaning about cyclists scooting up and down because they do think they own the place.
Yep.
So I actually, I think there's a lot of really good cyclists out there, but you know, like in every walk of life, there's some wallopers, and it's good for them to just have it written down in black and white that you know there's.
I think we explained what a walloper was in the last episode, didn't we?
We did.
Or was it
It's a
episode
family
before?
show, so I'm not going into detail. There's also, as in consideration for NXP's horse riders, because you kind of forget about horses. If you live in the city and all that, it's never going to. But regularly, there's horses kicking about the roads around here. Do you know what I mean?
Yep.
And actually, I'm even more careful passing a horse. I'm very careful passing a horse in the car, but I'm even more careful passing a horse on a bike.
Yeah.
Because I just realise the noise and everything is probably even
Aye.
worse, you know, for them. But they also have a burden of responsibility, because horses are big things that can boot you in the face and all
Aye.
that kind of stuff. To seek a ride safe course for your horse. The Institute of Advanced Equestrian Motoring. Well, wouldn't it be motoring, wouldn't it? Clip clopping.
Right.
Yeah, clip clopping.
Clopping.
Yeah. So
it did read, when you read it, it reads like a CBT
yeah.
for horse riding.
Is that right? Aye.
That's what it reads like.
And then you can join the IACC, the Institute for Advanced Clip Cloppers. And
I know the Olympic Committee.
that's something.
Is it?
No, that's the IOC.
Ah, it's the IOC.
No, the IACC.
That must be something to do with
The
cricket.
Institute for Advanced Clip Cloppers. Yep. So, if you want to see the full boring, in-depth government stuff, just Google UK Highway Code changes and look for the www.gov.uk link. It's a brilliant read.
Aye.
You'll
As
be-
my youngest daughter says, sense the tone.
Yeah, it's a super brilliant read. You'll be glued to the words.
If you suffer from insomnia, I mean, have a read at this.
Absolutely.
All joking aside, though,
I used to suffer from insomnia, but I slept it off, so it's fine.
God, they get worse.
Yep.
I'll just caveat at that point. That wasn't written on the screen. No. All joking aside, though,
All the bad jokes were never written by that. They were all purely from the brain of.
alone
the
the
brain of
spelling
the
mistakes,
one.
but no name. All joking aside, though, it shouldn't make riding any different. If you're a considerate rider to other road users, vulnerable road users, then it shouldn't make a difference. And for motorbikes, it means that in the event of an issue with a larger vehicle, the duty of care or that burden of responsibility falls on the car driver or the bus driver or the lorry driver or whoever it may be, which isn't a bad thing in my view.
Yep.
However, if you drive or ride like a
Or
walloper,
cycle or walk like an
Aye.
idiot.
if you're just a general walloper, then this is going to you're either going to need to change the way you behave when it comes to being on the road, because now there's going to be a much greater emphasis if you're up in that hierarchy. So sort your stuff out.
Smarten up. There,
Smarten up.
Smarten up. Stiff upper lip, gentlemen. Smarten up. So there we go. What's your conclusion then? Do you think I think again we're going to disagree and think where we go. Of course, it makes sense if you do it, you will be a safer motorcycle rider, providing you do it and take on board what they teach you.
Aye, I think for me, there's a conclusion runs in three ways here, right? One, I do think advanced riding or learning the techniques that the advanced riding brings, whether that be IAM or ROSPA or whatever,
Yep.
I definitely think even if you take only a couple of things from it, will definitely enhance your safety, which is the main thing out of that. I do think there's a lot of little things. Not so much a lot of things. I think there's the biggest thing about not sacrificing position or anything like that for safety. Safety should always come first. Yep. I think it needs to be a bit of a greater emphasis put on that right at the start. So in a CBT, and working its way through. Do you know what I mean, to that DAS level? And I'm not saying that they should be scored on it, right? You shouldn't get marked down for, you know what I mean, not moving over like half a metre just so that you've got a metre round bubble of safety. But it needs to be drilled in nice and early, I think. And as for the highway code changes, well, it's not going to affect me because I was always quite considerate anyway. So one problem I didn't have with my riding was actually being considerate to other road users.
Yeah. I think for me then, I agree in the sense of safety's first.
Oh, I knew it. We've ruined it. You've agreed.
But no, there's a but in there.
All right.
There's a but in there, right? But it's not the way. It's not a thing that you have to do if you're already a good rider. It's not the kind of. There's lots of things you can learn from it, absolutely, because I don't think anyone can disagree. If you get taught things that are useful, you learn from them, right? It's as simple as that.
Yeah.
But it's a huge commitment and a huge amount of time and a considerable amount of money if you're not going to use it. Yeah.
Yeah.
If you're going to be the kind of person that's going to walk up and go, yes, I am an advanced and I am rider and I am going to, and you know, it can breed that type of pain in the backside person.
Aye.
You know, that kind of
the people that people don't want to ride with.
The people that people don't want to ride with. So, you know, you've got to balance it around. You've got to be doing it for yourself and not doing it for the bragging rights. You know, and I know people out there who, and to be fair, not riders, advanced motorists people, you know, because I used to work for the AA and it was full of them, right?
Aye.
Full of these people that used to just go on and on about their IEM and this, that, and the next thing, you know, and you just used to go, shut, you know?
Aye.
And so I think it's like everything. It's a great thing if you do it for the right reasons, but one of the things that puts me off is I don't want to be surrounded by, you know, health and safety Keith and health and safety Keith and cautious Charlie, you know.
There's a couple of times where I've argued that we observers on things that I didn't necessarily agree with. And you mean it always then becomes a good discussion on like interpretation and all that kind of stuff. So I get that. I think anyone that's doing it out there for the kudos of being able to produce a little card that says you are an advanced motorist, rider, whatever, then just aye.
You know what I mean? Learn how to
Don't.
In terms of the should any of this stuff be in the road test? Probably not. I don't think necessarily it has to be, but if you know it, make sure that you're not penalised for it.
Aye.
You know, I think there has to be a bit of give and take.
Anybody can pick up a copy of the Roadcraft. You can go onto Amazon and order it. It's £9.
You can watch you can go onto YouTube and you can watch stuff. You can probably learn watch most of the IEM stuff.
Oh, aye.
You know, nothing beats doing it, but do not be so fixated and so strict on the test that when you're actually doing something that actually is a manoeuvre. And I think a great example of this, and it was years and years ago. It was an IEM guy. Was
one of those ones.
One of them. But it was a very interesting. It was his daughter had done. It was the first time the theory test has come out, so quite a while ago. And because he was an IEM guy, but he also had a caravan, so it just gives you the sense of type of person he was, right? And I've gone a bit Clarkson there with caravans. I'm getting this with fans. You know, they're a great idea as long as somebody else drives them. But and they was saying in the theory test, one of the questions was if you're pulling a caravan and it starts to wobble a bit,
Yep.
what do you do? You know, number one, maintain the same speed. Number two, go faster. Number three, slow down. Right. And for the theory test, you slow down.
Yes.
But as an advanced motorist pulling a caravan, you actually you go faster before you slow down to pull it back into line with the wheels of the vehicle, right?
Yeah.
So he was saying, you know, if you knew that and you go faster, you know, you're
going to fail.
You're going to fail, but you're not technically wrong.
Yep.
You know, so
same goes for the hazard perception.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because you could see that hazard way up, and you know what I mean right up in that video, you can see
the big guy at the bus stop.
The big guy at the bus stop,
right,
and you go click, but they don't want you to click until it's a developing hazard.
Yeah.
You go, well, you're looking at that road, and I'm looking and going, well, everything on that road's a hazard. You got one with a dog. That dog could be a lunger. And
the greatest bit of advice I got for that was click and then wait a few seconds and click again.
Aye.
You know, don't go click because obviously it knows. But you know, there's a leeway in there, and it allows you to, you know, it allows you for people who do see that hazard quicker.
Yep.
So that is a great bit of advice if you're doing your hazard perception test to click. And then just give it another wee click. Wait a second or so, and then click again. Click again, just so you know.
But that's another example of you would be penalised because you're looking at it and going, well, there's a potential hazard.
There's a guy standing at a bus stop, but what they want to do is click on it when you see the bus, not when you see the guy at the bus stop.
Exactly.
But your IEM mind says there's a guy at a bus stop, therefore the bus must be coming.
Aye, he's waiting on a bus.
He's waiting on a bus.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So. Aye.
There we go. So yep, I think it's good. I think it's definitely worth doing if you've got the time commitment and
if you can afford the £99, then afford.
But here and last week question then, just from your opinion, I'll just throw this out there. If you're only using your bike to go 2 or 3 miles every day to and from your work, small country roads, is it still worth the money?
Yes.
Right, it's fine.
More
so
because that's where you go into automatic pilot.
That was the answer I was hoping you'd give me.
Aye.
Good one.
More so because if anything, it's just training you to be a bit more focused because you'll know yourself. Yeah. And I think you do the same road every night. Do you know what I mean?
And I think you're right. People will think to themselves, actually, do you know what? I don't need that because I'm only going up the road. I'm only on the bike 10 minutes every few days, and you're going to go, well, actually, that's an even bigger advantage to you doing it. Cause
and it's not like you can take. It's not like you take the course and then you go on 8 observed runs and then you have to do the test. You know what I mean? I do think if you're going to spend that time, in the £99 or whatever, and you've spent most of the time, you get to that point, you would have not to do the test. But if you do 5 or 6 and go, well, do you know what? I've learned a few wee bits, and actually this is not really for me. Then fine, you can walk away. It's not, it's not like you have to hang on to it. You can just walk away. Yeah, albeit you're never going to be a full member or whatever, but you've learned a couple of safety tips, or a couple of things that make you that bit more safer and progressive on the road. Then that's a win.
Absolutely.
Do you know what I mean?
So and just so that for people who maybe have friends and family that want to get stuff for birthdays, can they do the gift certificates?
They do gift certificates.
There you go, folks. If you've got get a few folk to chip in and get if you fancy it, but you've not got £100, there you go. You can actually think of ways to do it.
Yeah. Or which is another one. If you have one of those nagging wives that go, I don't like you when you're on the bike. Oh, I don't like you when you're on the bike. Go and be an advanced rider. Then that way you can go, I'm an advanced rider. I'm technically safer. I've learned a whole load of new techniques that makes me
safer than a driver.
Might get her off your back. Or it might get him off your back. Again,
absolutely, yep.
I'm quite happy to offend everybody.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. and to be fair, the image I've now got really is offending a cross section of all cultural concepts.
If you have a partner who nags you about your safety on the bike, do an advanced riding course.
Get that partner off your back. Unless, of course, you're quite happy for them. But no, family show. So, anyway.
We're going to need to get something. Yes, I just good idea.
So, anyway.
The next.
So, tell me this. Do you have a wee button there with, like, fireworks and celebrations and all that kind of stuff?
No.
You need to add it in because what has this been? This has been our
10th show.
10th. There we go.
That might work.
Oh, that's all right. It's good. Yeah.
Failing that, I'll just edit it out and I'll get a fireworks sound and put it in afterwards.
Perfect. Right.
So
good
if you're listening to this and you hear a fireworks sound, I've managed to get a fireworks sound celebration.
Perfect.
You know what I mean? I'll not get cool in a gang because, well, copyright. You know what I mean? I'd need
Absolutely.
royalties and all that stuff.
However, yes. So
But there
that's have we finished concluding? I think
I think
we're
we're finished
concluding.
concluding.
So
I think it's
that's
again,
it. Yes.
kind of agreed, but
To be fair,
kinda-
though, we do kind of agree.
we tend to.
'cause,
I know.
you
I know. I'm going to really. If anybody out there has a topic that they think we completely disagree on,
Marvel or
send it
DC.
in.
If only it was Marvel or DC did motorbikes. You know what I mean? Then we could.
Oh,
Oh,
no.
the Batbike versus
Actually,
the
no,
Batbike
because I
versus the CCM in Black Widow.
no, it'd be the Batbike.
Of course it would be.
You
Of course it would
know
be.
what I mean? There's no.
Yeah.
Although the Batbike versus an Iron Man bike.
But there isn't an Iron Man bike, is there?
No, but if there was,
But see, no, it has to exist.
oh, it has to
It
exist.
has to exist.
Yeah, okay.
It has to exist in the fantasy world of films.
Aye, that's
Do you know what I mean?
Batman's going to win it every
Yeah, of
time.
course it is. Right.
Unfortunately.
Yeah.
Unless it's, you know what I mean?
Unless, of course, it's the wee one for the
Unless-
1960s film. That was still cool.
Nah,
Yeah.
he's winning every time. That's neither a debate. You know what I mean? So there you go.
Cool.
Cool. Well, that's it then. Episode 10 in bag. Thank you all for listening to the ramblings of us, the average bikers. I keep saying this week, but they tend to be kind of fortnightly. We're going to get in the groove of being almost every fortnight. Again, depending on what's happening in the world with
Yep.
work and all that kind of
Absolutely.
stuff. But
We
matter what.
love doing them, so we'll be doing them as often as we can.
I know, that's it. It just, again, it's trying to get them in and get them built.
The next one, I'm hoping the next one will be quite quick because we've got West Coast Harley at the weekend. We're super looking forward to that. So
Aye. We just need to find
Yeah.
that topic or that big question for what we decide, because we try and keep them kind of mildly related to things that have
Absolutely. Yes.
happened or things
Yes.
that we've been talking about in general. But if we don't, we could just talk nonsense for 2 hours. It's
Yeah.
quite easily done.
well, maybe if you're going out to West Coast Harley at the weekend for the bench weekend and you see us kicking about, we'll be wearing our average biker t-shirts, handing out a couple of wee flyers and things for you
Yes,
to
we will.
listen to us with our new cards with the QR code. It means you can't find us.
I know, that's genius.
Do you like that?
That
That's
is
good.
genius.
Where'd you see them, folks? They're brilliant. And well, yeah, you can chuck us a wee couple of ideas for questions, suggestions,
Exactly.
back topics, you know.
And if they're not going to the show, how else could they get in contact with us?
Well, if you want to get in touch with questions or a possible big question, then please email us at averagebikersinacave@outlook.com or get in touch via our Facebook page or Instagram, and we will see you in the next episode. So until next time, only a biker understands why an owl flies at you at speed at 10 o'clock at night. No, that's not right, is it? Ooh.